Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Patron Appreciation Show. I am your host, Jamarl Thomas, sometimes going by the moniker Progressive Soapbox, and my wife, Mrs. Thomas. My head is shining pretty brutally here. But my wife, Mrs. Thomas, she's doing the show with me on Patron Appreciation episodes. She enjoyed it last time. The people enjoyed her being here. I enjoyed her being here. I thought it was fun, and she seemed to have a good time. So, Mrs. Thomas, she doesn't necessarily like to go by that moniker because she feels like
moniker Aisha.
Yeah, because I'm destroying her personality and everything that she is, and forcing my last name upon her in this case. But again, like we talked about last time, it's Aisha. It's Hollingsworth Thomas. It's not just Thomas. What?
Let's go.
I felt some kind of way about removing the name. Like, I thought about it from the standpoint of, look, I'm an uber feminist. And I'm an uber feminist in a way that believing that people are people. Women, men, anywhere in between those things. And if I was in a situation of marrying somebody, would I want to get rid of the name that I had with me for the entirety of my life? The answer was no. Why would I want to do that? I was a Thomas. I was perfectly happy being a Thomas before we met. I would be perfectly happy with the last name of Thomas after we met. After then all this other stuff. I don't necessarily want to give over myself in that way. And so my feeling was the middle ground of Hollingsworth Thomas was better in this regard.
Babe.
By the same token, I'm a guy in this culture, and having the woman take your last name is also this kind of rite of passage. It's kind of a manly thing. So it was these two competing things working against me. I thought Hollingsworth Thomas was a great middle ground. But okay, to digress. We have a few stories for the show today. And I think it's a good show. So let me explain the way the Patron Appreciation Show is going to go. I think this is somewhat of a good format, and I liked it from last week. Last week's show was extremely good. Anyone can get access to last week's show by becoming a patron. I would also say even through PayPal. And if you hit me up, I can give you a link to all of the Patron Appreciation episodes. Because if you contribute through PayPal, I still want you to be able to have access to those shows. I am thinking a weekend review show would be awesome. How you like that idea? Like a weekend review. So usually I would do one show and then I would do the next and the next, and each one will be a separate show unto itself. But the weekend review essentially says these are several of the stories that took place over the course of the last week, and let's discuss those stories. So, where my regular show is more of an in-depth show, this is more of a conversation about the week that we've just had.
To be clear, though, the Patron Appreciation is also a time to address the topics that patrons submit.
Yes.
A couple of days before the live show, it's put out on Patron Appreciation to say, hey, Sunday we're going to be having Patron Appreciation. Submit your topics here, and they will be kind of reviewed by Jamal to see what he wants to talk about for the day. So yes, that is another big reason for a Patron Appreciation. So if you're a patron, make sure that you go online. Last week we did Fred Edwards topic suggestion, and this one I think one of the ones we're doing today is from Trudy.
Yeah. Because I may not do all of them. Sometimes they have to fit within the context of it. But I like the weekend review thing. But yeah, within that context, we're adding in patron suggestions. Also, questions. Like if there are questions for the show or something to that effect, I guess this will be the time where those questions will be answered, that you can, again, submit them on Patreon. So our goal, this is a push. We're trying to, I don't trust YouTube. I have more trust in regards to the patrons. So this is a push to try to bring more people on to into the fold in this way. Either Patreon or PayPal, but bring more people into the fold.
So if you're watching, make sure you are a subscriber and consider being a patron to the Progressive Soapbox Show.
Especially if you find yourself coming back here often.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing.
You dig the content. All right, so there are a few topics that I want to talk about today. And I'm probably going to do episodes on a few of these in a separate case because some of these came up, they're on my list to do that just haven't gotten around to doing them. But there are a few. There's been news.
Wait. Can we address this first?
What were you
I don't know if I should be jumping in. If I can jump in. Clyde Illusion just said, so Jamal's show is run by people with money, special interests. What did he say exactly? Is ran by special interests. If you have money, you get special treatment. How many shows does he do a week that don't have anything to do with patron appreciation? Come on, Clyde. This is one day a week for the patrons.
I wouldn't even dignify that.
I know, but I feel like that. I mean, like maybe that's a legitimate concern, especially, you know, like left-wing politics, and you're talking about people giving them money, and now we're like, what do the people with the money want to hear? Well, to a certain extent, because they are donating. This is a small channel. He does it all by himself, so to take a day out of the week to say thank you for making it possible.
I
Come on, Clyde. Clyde LOLing. I think he was poking me, and I
think he might have been joking you. Yeah, that's what I said. Everything is not a
I'm triggered. Okay.
Everything doesn't need a response. There are some people who take that tact. Those people don't have a show to do, and so they can have whatever opinion they want. The fact of the matter is, the show makes revenue, which gives me being paid. You know, you can't do a show living on the street, so that's what it boils down to.
It would be a different show entirely.
It would be an entirely different show, but you may get a homeless crowd, or people looking at the lifestyles of the poor and unfortunate, and they're just kind of following you around. That actually may do good, which would destroy the show, because at that point you wouldn't be poor and unfortunate. It's somewhat of a, you know, this weird dichotomy.
If you start benefiting from the show,
right,
then...
right, you're not poor and unfortunate. Yeah, but no, look, to touch on that. Look, at the end of the day, if I want to do a show, the only way to do that show is to be able to propagate yourself. Meaning you need a certain amount in order to get from point A to point B. That allows the show to essentially go on and on and on. So even though this is not necessarily the best part of the show that I like all that much, I always think it's somewhat of an indignity to have to request money or that in that case. But fact of the matter is, it's a show, and people can contribute to the show if they like the show. My only thing is, if you really enjoy it, consider being a patron. But nobody's pushed, nobody's prodded, nothing to that effect. They give if they enjoy. And as a thank you for them doing so, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with giving a show. All right, so the first thing that's on the list. My wife, the other day, she came and she said, she didn't say anything. She just showed the cell phone. She said, look at this. And I'm in the middle of doing the news, and when I'm trying to do the news, I'm in a zone, so I'm not in the best of moods. And usually I'm like, get out of here, woman! I'm trying to do the news! It's that type of stuff. But she's like, look, she's insistent. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. Bernie Sanders records video announcing 2020 campaign. And immediately, the gruff demeanor of this man who's, you know, like, get out of here, woman, all becomes like, oh my God. Oh my God. Dad's about to announce.
Run, Bernie, run.
Run, Sanders, run. Sanders, apparently, he is not officially announced. It's like there are rumblings of Sanders. It's like Godzilla. And it's like the ground is moving, and you look around like, why is the ground moving? And then you finally see the silhouette in distance of buildings falling down. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? And then you finally see his head pop out. And it's like,
He's so
Sanders! Bernie Sanders. Throwing buildings out the way as he roams through the rest of the countryside.
I think, too, the buildup is because all these random people are putting their hat in the race. Like, who did we watch the other day? Oprah Winfrey's lady?
Yeah.
What was her name?
Marianne Williamson.
But
I like her.
No, I'm not saying that.
I like her a lot.
I like her, but we were watching her, and I was thinking clearly what the interviewer was thinking. I was watching her, and I was like, who is this chick again?
She's Oprah Winfrey's spiritual advisor.
Who is this lady again?
I think it's epic. Like, she's
okay, but I think it's not. Okay, so
I want to be a spiritual advisor.
No, okay. Is she a spiritual advisor, or is she running for president?
She's both.
She's gonna be a spiritually
She's Oprah Winfrey's spiritual advisor. And by the way, even though she's a random person, what she's saying is right. Like,
there are plenty of people.
If you listen to her campaign speech, what she's saying, because look, she's getting to it's what Chris Hedges says. She's saying it in a different way. But Chris Hedges makes this argument of this kind of animus, this thing within the public, where it becomes this kind of death cult or death drive. You have a capitalistic system that is literally running the country into the ground. The public knows it, and still, for the most part, just goes about their way because they can't do anything about it. Now, her point is, there are certain things in our society that we haven't done anything about. The racial animosity that breaks down in two political parties where you have a Republican Party that's mostly white and a Democratic Party that's mostly multicultural. That's a problem. You literally have a racial divide within your country that is, breaking down into factional lines. Her point is that needs to be resolved. And it hasn't been resolved because issues associated with the Civil War. I say white people don't regard their history honestly. She's saying it in a different way. I like her a lot, but she's random.
I say, excuse me, not to tear down anything. I say profound shit every day. I say I have accurate thoughts about things all the time. That doesn't make me fit to run for president. I think that Donald Trump being in office is giving people a little bit too much hope. You know how when you were young and people said, your parents would say, you could be anything when you grow up. And they're looking like, Donald Trump made it.
If that goofball
I'm going for it. And it's like, where
I thought that about George Bush.
Line. You got to draw the line somewhere.
I thought with George W. Not to mention
George W.
I got to be honest. As an African American, it's always said that if you're black, you have to be better in order to succeed in this case. Meaning, it's like the evaluations are unfair in and of themselves. That it's kind of like it's like socialism for the rich, capitalism for the poor. It's like if you're dirt poor, it's like you need to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. But if you're rich, people will give you cash. It's kind of that way with us. George W. is the dumbest man on the planet. At least I thought he was. Donald Trump gets in office also. Meaning neither one of them knew dick about the world. They knew dick about even just the things that go on in the domestic sense. Knew nothing about that stuff. And yet they were able to get elected just based on political message. It was clear that they were dumb as a box of rocks. And it's like the same thing with Trump. I couldn't imagine, like Ben Carson might have been that way, where Ben Carson looked like he was falling asleep when he was giving a speech. Like, he may have been a brilliant surgeon, doesn't necessarily mean he's a brilliant politician. But he was a brilliant surgeon. Like, he still had a certain level of achievement. Donald Trump was a failure his entire life. I mean, and George W. was a drunk.
Donald Trump was a successful businessman.
He filed bankruptcy 6 times.
I'm sorry.
I guess I'm just making just this very basic point that Obama was a constitutional lawyer from Harvard and was in the elite circles of even that. Like, whatever you want to think of him, intellectual achievement was on point. Donald Trump and George W. Bush.
I get it.
Like, that blows me away.
Which is why, like, these people have so much hope. And it's like, okay, so this isn't the topic we're supposed to be talking about.
I know, but I get you. What you're like, if that goofball can do it, anybody can do it. Like, the expectations of the presidency were far too high. Like, that type of stuff. If Donald Trump got it office.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, there was a certain esteem that I had in the office, like just in growing up. Like, the president comes on, even presidents you don't particularly like. The Gipper comes on, and it's like, oh, what is the Gipper going to say? You know, he looks into the camera and says, "Yeah, we were selling weapons and passing that money to the Contras because we wanted to take down the Nicaraguan government." I didn't know anything about that, but the buck stops with me. Now, you're looking at that, you're like, wow, the President of the United States is giving a speech. Same thing with Jimmy Carter. Like, there's a heft to the office, and then W gets in office. And it's like, oh. And then Obama gets in office, and it's like, there's still a certain esteem. He looks like a president. Whatever you want to think of him. When he's, we tortured some folks. Well, he looked like a president.
He had a good resume behind that office as well.
That too.
Pretty respectable.
But he looked like a president.
Yeah. And
like,
now,
if that makes sense.
And now, Donald Trump doesn't look like a president to you?
Just saying.
Okay, so we're talking about Bernie running.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is getting into the race. So, yeah, last, 2 weeks ago, they said him coming into the race is imminent. He's going to come into the race, and it's like, so you report that it's like Bernie Sanders imminent into the race. I don't know what imminent means in this case, but... And then campaign video comes out, Bernie Sanders to announce within a week. And you're like, oh, there's more rumblings. Like, and it's like, just do it, just do it, just do it.
It's the buildup.
The buildup is just intense.
We've been sitting here waiting for this, and it's like, okay, all right, somebody else announced. Okay, it's not Bernie. Okay, somebody else announced. Okay, wait, it's not Bernie. Okay, so where's Bernie?
And then it's like when during the campaign speech when he was pushing back against Donald Trump. God, it would have been awesome if he said, "This is why I'm running for president of the United States. I'm Bernie Sanders," and he just throws his mic down and rips his shirt off.
No, don't rip your shirt off, Bern. I'm not on board for that.
I think you'd be surprised at how many people would think that would be badass.
If Bernie Sanders ripped his shirt off?
If he was
not necessary.
If he was in one of those speeches where he is whipped up into this kind of socialist rage and he's like going at the end of it, he just and the video ends.
Does he have like a Superman shirt on underneath?
Maybe. I'm just saying, it's like
he better have on something, because if Bernie Sanders rips it off and puts it all out there to bear, that's going to be worse than him drinking the water after the State of the Union.
You know, in my head, no, there's Michael Rubio moment. In my head, anytime somebody gets like really excited and really hyped up, that's the only way to go. That's the place you go after that.
Beatrice said she want to see Bernie's sexy body. Somebody said a little while ago, Bernie still jogs. That's all fine and dandy, but
Trump. Have you seen Trump? He's gotten big as a house.
Why wouldn't he?
Well, I mean, I know he eats the hamburgers and all. But
BuzzFeed did this thing like a couple of months ago where they had two people eat Donald Trump's menu for a day. Have you guys seen that?
Geez,
Google it and look at it. It's disgusting.
Are you
serious? It's disgusting.
That's hilarious.
The one thing at the end of it that I was like, this says everything you need to know about this man. Like, he was eating like McDonald's and everything, but at the end he ordered a steak, and it was...
He ordered a steak.
It was a well-done steak.
Oh, it should be well done. Steak should be medium.
That says everything you need to know about a man, how he likes his steak.
Is it really? Is that would take? That's all it takes.
Maybe not all you need to know, but it says a lot about a man on how he likes his steak. And well done
tells you everything you need to know about a man. All right, fair enough. We can go with that. But yeah, Bernie Sanders is rumbling. Yeah, I want to show a few parts from this.
What are we looking at? President Trump
that's the
declares
state of
national emergency.
Yeah, I want to show a few parts of that when we talk about that. But just to put a button on this one, Bernie Sanders, his announcement is imminent. I assume this was going to take place. I've said this for like a year or so, that he was going to run. He wouldn't have been giving those State of the Union speeches. He wouldn't have been as visible as he had been. Bernie Sanders had a strategy after being broken and crushed and hefted his body pushed up on the rafters of the DNC. He had a strategy as he laid up there on that cross, looking up to his father, saying, "Forgive him. Vote Clinton."
His father in heaven?
Vote Clinton.
Oh.
Vote Clinton.
This was a leaked announcement, the video. Like, Bernie didn't come out and say, I recorded a campaign, it's coming.
I don't believe
it was leaked.
I don't believe it leaks.
That it was recorded, and he's like hiring back some people who was on his campaign run before. So it's a lot of little things that are popping up, and you're like, okay.
But long story short, there's a campaign video of Sanders announcing that is set to drop any moment.
Today.
I don't know if it's gonna be today, but any moment. I gotta be honest, I am so fucking excited about this. Like, it's open warfare. Like, it's not like there's something compelling when you acknowledge that the enemy exists, and you acknowledge that there is no quarter expected or given, and your job is just to annihilate the enemy. And the range of debate and the conversation, for the most part, is on your side. Meaning, the defense in this case is them. They need to make the defense of why Sanders is wrong and pushing for this stuff when the public is backing him on this. And Sanders, running in campaign mode, will be openly abusive. Hopefully, he'll be open abusive to his Democratic components also. Because at the end of the day, he may be running as a Democrat, but there's something amazing to say. I'm the independent senator from Vermont who's just so happened running as a Democrat. People hate the Democratic Party, but they're willing to give somebody who they don't consider a real Democrat, and the Democrats keep saying he's not a real Democrat. There's something compelling about that. It's like, if he can get out of the primary, which is an if, because you have some rabid Hillary supporters that hate his guts. That sexist fucking Bernie Sanders and the Russians kept Hillary Clinton from winning the election. that type of stuff. But if he can get out of the primary, this is a compelling case to make. An open capitalist billionaire versus the socialist. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so clarified. Like, it's a straightforward, like, it's not two candidates, not like a Gore and a Bush, where these guys are so similar on this stuff that there's no choice. This is a guy who calls himself a socialist against a guy who calls himself a billionaire, having a go at it. In broad terms, one guy is an open, abusive to the capitalistic system, even though he's propagating the capitalistic system. And the other guy is just an outright capitalist.
What if Trump doesn't run again?
He's going to run. His ego will be too enmeshed in it.
It would be what?
His ego is too enmeshed in the process of presidency. He wouldn't want to lose. Okay. All right, but good news, Sanders will be in the race imminent, and I will be on here.
Eventually.
I've said this also. I will even make this proclamation again to my patrons. If Sanders is cheated again, and he turns around and endorses, let's say, like Kamala Harris,
what you gonna do?
I will come on this camera and walk and cry. I've given Bob Ramirez, I've said, Bob, I would come on and I would cry for you. You would be able to play the clip of me weeping on camera forever. By the same token, if Sanders exceeds the primary and it's Sanders and Trump, Bob needs to take a video of him voting for Sanders.
You can't do that.
I know you can't do it. He needs to sneak the camera to the voting booth.
You're gonna get arrested.
Like he's just.
Yeah, I did it for Progressive Soapbox.
I want to see him crying as he pulls the lever for Sanders. Sanders. Because look, within the context of my lifetime, there's never been a point in my lifetime where the policy objectives that I want, even though it's not as far as I want, at the very least have an open supporter in the office that pushes for that stuff, and that any Democrat that's in office has to actually make a choice on whether or not they're going to support real lefty policies. I like that. I want them in Congress trying to explain why they're not going to vote for Medicare for all, with a president that's browbeating them over doing it, hitting them every time they look up. You know, I need this Democrat needs to support my Medicare for all plan and blah 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 blah. I am looking forward to that. Not to mention changing over the DNC, because Sanders will be able to choose who heads the DNC, and it's not going to be Tom fucking Perez.
Well, hopefully he announces, and hopefully he gets.
Some people may say that's wishful thinking. That may be wishful thinking, but I would say this: it is closer to a wish of reality than at any time in my lifetime. So.
And how old are you? No, I'm just
41. Yeah, I'm old. I'm ancient. Fucking dinosaur. All right, so Bernie Sanders announces. So the second one I want to talk about is the bogus national security emergency declaration that Donald Trump has initiated. So take a look at this. This is Trump giving a briefing. Donald Trump, God, he's fucking comical. He's such a goofball. I watched this yesterday and I thought, he's the president of the United States. He comes out and he's declaring a national security emergency because he failed to such a degree. He doesn't want to shut the government down again because that's going to look bad. He shut the government down the first time and didn't get he got $1 billion. That is a premature ejaculation of a premature ejaculation. Meaning it is a failure on an epic and grand level to get $1 billion to build a wall that's going to cost like $100 or some billion dollars. So Donald Trump declares a national emergency. Everybody was against him doing this, meaning members of his own party was even against him doing it. But he did it anyway. He gives this wildly incoherent, roaming speech where he's talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the national security emergency. He's talking about North Korea. He's saying Obama was going to start a war with North Korea. Like, he's saying just some insane shit here. He brings out victims of violence associated with the border. He's making up stats. Like, he's going all over the place. And then he finally says, like he's bitter and passive aggressive in most of the speech. He's attacking reporters in CNN. And finally, after saying all of this other stuff that has nothing to do with what he's about to do, He says he's declaring a national security emergency because of something at the border. I want to show certain parts of the speech because it is absolutely hilarious. He attacks Jim Acosta, and not just attacks Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta asks him something that's just something that I was thinking during this press conference. But not just that, he also impugns his own reason for being here. Like, Donald Trump is making a point, there's an emergency at the border. There's an emergency at the border. And there's such an emergency at the border that I had to shut the government down in order to do it because I, Donald Trump, am the only one that recognizes that there's an emergency at the border. There's a crisis. Something that needs to be done. So I, man of action Donald Trump, will declare a national emergency to get it done. The problem here is, within this speech, somebody asked him a question, and Donald Trump starts adding in information that gets across that it's not an emergency. He said, I didn't have to do this. I could have did this slowly, but I wanted to do it faster. Well, you just say you didn't have to do it. If it's an emergency, you have to do it. You're saying you don't have to do this.
It's a non-emergency.
It's a non-emergency emergency, yeah, which is nonsense. Which means that when they take this to court, they're going to play the clip of Donald Trump saying this exact same thing.
I didn't have to do this.
I didn't have to do this. All right, let's take a look at it. I didn't have this queued up, but I think I remember what it is. No.
That would
just those sections. Just those sections. The sections are hilarious.
And we won, but somebody said President Trump lost on the bench. Well, he was right. I lost at the lower court. He didn't say that we.
Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm checking to see what's going on. Oh, I see what's going on.
That was a trick. He's not really saying anything. Right? Alright,
so let's disable. And that should bring it back to this. In fact, what I might do is show my video on this because I had the scenes that I wanted to show.
About this is because of the election. Because they
for March 1.
Well, you know, you're talking to the wrong person because I happen to like tariffs, okay?
Like
crime
what?
data out there. There's a lot of Department of Home.
All right.
Border man saying, where the hell did that come from? I think it was the
so
only one in over a year.
This is going to be Jim Acosta's part first.
The crazy thing is, I just had, as you know,
and then I'll go
Rasmussen, 52%.
All right. Let me do this. I didn't have this video queued up, guys. I'm sorry. I wasn't going to do this one, but let's go here and just go to the video. Go to the video. Back here and tried to spin this $1 billion. All right. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Fortunately, I had the clips up, and I could just reference my own video. Bam. That's when you know when you're good, babe. You can reference your own video.
Is your mic on?
Yes. That's on. All right, here we go. Oh, you're saying that stuff I should think, not necessarily say.
No, it's fine.
Fuck that, man. Just say it. Let it. All right. Let's do this. And watch. You know, look it up. I'll put the link at the bottom for it. But let's take a look at some of this. Let's pop me right there.
In the past, when President Obama tried to use executive action as it related to immigration, you said the whole concept of executive order, it's not the way the country's supposed to be run. You said you're supposed to go through Congress and make a deal. will you concede that you were unable to make the deal that you had promised in the past, and that the deal you're ending up with now from Congress is less than what you could have had before a 35-day shutdown?
I went through Congress. I made a deal. I got almost $1.4 billion when I wasn't supposed to get $1. Not $1. He's not going to get $1. Well, I got $1.4 billion, but I'm not happy with it. I also got billions and billions of dollars for other things.
So bitter.
Port of entries, lots of different things. The purchase of drug equipment, more than we were even requesting. In fact, the primary fight was on the wall. Everything else, we have so much, as I said, I don't know what to do with it. We have so much money. But on the wall, they skimped. So I was successful in that sense, but I want to do it faster. I could do the wall over a longer period of time. I didn't need to do this, but I'd rather do it much faster.
You shouldn't have let him go off script like that. The President of the United States has just admitted that he didn't need to build a wall. He just wanted to do it faster. That's kind of a problem, Mr. President, seeing as you said that there is an emergency at the border, which means that it's not something that you could just let go by the wayside. You can't have it both ways. Like, it's one or the other. Either it's an emergency or it's not. There's not a halfway emergency or partial emergency or somewhat of an emergency. It's either is or not. The word is somewhat determinative of what we're talking about. He just admitted that he wasn't.
Well, he could do it the other way, but it was so emergent. It was so much of emergency that this was a better way. This wasn't the only way,
He just had to do
but
it
this was the better way. I could have done it by myself. Like, I guess he was saying he could have went and, like, put the wall up by himself, but he said he could have done it another way, but this was faster.
Him saying, here's the thing, the Republican Party had Congress lock, stock, and barrel. If they wanted to build a wall, they could have built the wall. Nobody could have stopped them from doing it at all. Just saying, that's the first point. Second point, him saying, there's so much money that I don't know what to do with. I can think of a lot of things to do with that money. I can think of a lot of things. All of the homeless places. Hey, let's cut the military budget in half and make sure everybody can go to school, or make sure everybody's health
Well,
care.
from what I'm seeing with him in the office, he's doing plenty with money.
And you know what's wild about that?
Burning through plenty of money.
He is burning through plenty of money because he's putting trillions on the backs of American workers. Oh God, yeah, that's a whole other thing into itself. So there's one more clip in this I want to play. This entire press conference is a bizarre thing to watch. I mean, he's surly, he's bitter, he's angry. He's all over the place in the stuff that he's talking about. And much of the stuff he's talking about, like I said, had nothing to do with the thing. He's chest stomping, saying the peace process is going great with North Korea and that Obama was going to start a war. Like.
What are we even talking about here?
Yeah, right. It's like, and then he goes to, so I'm declaring a national security emergency. And the press is just completely not buying it. Like, nobody is buying this. Everybody understands this is a bogus, cynical jump of the shark of a president trying to fulfill a campaign pledge. Now, that's it. Is there something noble about this if you're backing Trump on this issue? Like, would you have wanted Obama to do something like this to back up one of your issues? Let's say closing Guantanamo Bay. If Obama said, we're going to close that place because that place was a torture chamber, and this was one of my campaign pledges of something that I was going to do, I'm going to close Guantanamo. And the president says, I'm willing to shut the government down in order to close Guantanamo Bay. We have better ways to do it. We're going to bring these things within the law. We're going to, with the American law. We're going to get rid of the stain on the American psyche. Would you have backed him going to these lengths? Like, this is my point. From the standpoint of somebody who's backing Trump on this very specific issue, yes, I understand this is to some degree racist. But on this particular issue, would you have supported Obama going to these lengths for something that you like? If he was your advocate doing this, would you have wanted him to go to the mat? It's not so fucking easy now, is it?
Womp womp. So, like,
I'm just saying, yeah, I would have wanted him to go to the mat if he was my
Trump
guy.
was so nasty, but if I had my guy in office and he shut shit down to get, like,
close Guantanamo. I'm using Guantanamo because that was a very
I'm
specific
thinking about
campaign
more
pledge
like
that Obama
Medicare
did.
for all or like universal health care. you know, and he's like, this is a national emergency. I'm going to shut the government down for universal health care. I would be like,
put it on my budget.
Yeah, burn, baby, burn it down. Burn it down.
And
that's
then a million
be
people don't get paid for 2 weeks.
Do we get universal health care? I mean, it's. I feel you. It's not
and
that
Republicans
easy,
are like,
but
we could have this conversation, but President Sanders needs to bring the government back on. I'm telling you, that would not.
President Sanders. Say that again, baby.
President Sanders would need to bring the president back on.
No, just President Sanders.
And by the way, a Democrat wouldn't have the balls to do that. They wouldn't.
Because Obama clearly didn't.
Because look, part of your job as an executive is to keep the government running. Meaning, governments in and of themselves, one of the main primary things is that the government persists itself. I mean, otherwise, you wouldn't have a government. You have just, this kind of just body of people who are there. No, governments tend to have a certain working order that tries to maintain the integrity of the government itself. Meaning, keeping itself active. Having somebody to jump the shark to the degree of shutting it down for petty campaign thing, that wasn't something that was... that was beyond.
I think declaring national emergency should be reserved for
national
emergencies.
But Obama declared a national emergency for the immigration issue, where he put those dreamers in. And by the way, when Obama did that, Trump came out and said the president shouldn't be using national emergencies for this. Attacked him over it. I have a video with Mike Pence coming out attacking Obama for it.
I feel you. I mean, I don't know.
Shoes on the other foot. It's not all that easy to answer that question. You know the answer to the question. You just don't like it because you have
rough.
It's not rough. It's straightforward. What you're considering rough is the feeling associated with it. There's an honest answer to it.
It's like some people are going to have to suffer for what I perceive to be the greater good.
That's always the case. There's no magical doors.
Well, is that what Trump supporters are saying now?
But it's not the greater good.
But there are people who really believe that burn it down to get a wall.
There are people who believe that Jesus is going to ride on a golden chariot, to bring them home to somewhere. People can believe all sorts of things. I'm talking about objective reality. Like, looking at this not from the standpoint of, there's some people who believe all sorts of things. And don't misunderstand me. I understand the problem associated with this line of thinking, that ultimately it's like, well, how do you know that you're not the one that's in the wrong, in the same way that they believe that they're in the right? I would say that there is something to be said about objective reality and data and stats and facts and figures, and you can come to some objective reality of whether or not there's a crisis at the border that negates or that mandates a particular course of action. Also, I can even go for the intent of what's being said, and yeah, it's somewhat racist if what they're talking about the world doesn't actually line up with the world. In regards to the reasoning for wanting a wall. The people who are working on stuff like this don't even want a wall, per se. They may want a physical barrier, and you can say physical barrier and a wall are the exact same thing. And to be fair, some of this is not all that fair, because Hillary Clinton was calling for a wall herself. Just saying, they didn't care. Let's take a look at the second clip. Jim Acosta asked Donald Trump the best question, at least the question that I've been thinking, the exact same thing as I watched his press conference. And Donald Trump does not react to this question well at all. He flips out. While I would personally love if somebody who I was pushing for did this for me, like went to these lengths for me in this way, let's be honest about what it is. This is not a national emergency. It's 1 point. Jim Acosta win.
Unifying crime reporting statistics, numbers from your own Border Patrol, numbers from this government show that...
Disaster. I'm stuck with it.
Mr. President, could you tell us... Women with duct tape over their...
And people get what we're doing. They get it. They really get it. And I'm honored by it. Yes, Jim Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if you could comment on this disconnect that we seem to have in this country, where you are presenting information about what's happening at the border, calling it an invasion, talking about women with duct tape over their mouths and so on, and yet there's a lot of reporting out there, there's a lot of crime data out there There's a lot of Department of Homeland Security data out there that shows border crossings at a near record low. That shows undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels. That shows undocumented criminals or undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels than native-born Americans. What do you say to
you don't really believe that stat? Do you really believe that?
What do you
take a look at our federal prisons.
I believe in facts and statistics and data.
Any more quick? Let's go.
Let me just ask you this: what do you say to your critics who say that you are creating a national emergency, that you're concocting a national emergency here in order to get your wall because you couldn't get it through other ways?
What do you think? Do you think I'm creating something? Ask these incredible women who lost their daughters and their sons. Okay? Because your question is a very political question because you have an agenda. You're CNN.
You're a politician. You're a politician. Of course it's going to be a political question. You're a politician. And by the way, it's a good question. Trump doesn't like that question. That question hits. Jim Acosta asked him the question that I had been thinking the exact same time. If you're declaring a national emergency, okay, and even if I give you the benefit of the doubt that in your head there's a crisis at the border, okay, what facts are you using for this? Like, what are you using? Jim Acosta's like, I can look at all of this data that's easily available, that can be compiled on the subject, and I come up with a different conclusion than what you're saying. Not just different conclusion. What this data says is entirely different than what you're saying. So what are you using to come to this assessment? What data? What information are you using? And Donald Trump in this is like, you're fake news. He's like, that's a political question. No, that's an amazing question. And by the way, you're a politician. You're a politician. I mean, look, Acosta is grandstanding. Fair enough.
Is that why he had two microphones?
That might have been why he had two mics. But that question is on point. That question is on point. And by the way, there's one more. Just before you say anything, take a look at this last part. Ooh. Take a look at the last part. There's one more.
Fake news. You have an agenda. The numbers that you gave are wrong. Take a look at our federal prison population. See how many of them, percentage-wise, are illegal aliens. Just see. Go ahead and see. It's a fake question. Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask for follow-up?
Doesn't let Acosta get a follow-up. Acosta is like, can I follow that up? He doesn't know. He's like, no, you're fake news. So you're CNN. The next guy who picks up the microphone, however, picks up exactly where Acosta was going to follow up. Meaning, so even though Acosta didn't follow up, the guy who follows Acosta just follows up in the exact same thread of questioning and asks Donald Trump the exact same question in a more long-handed way. Oh, this is awesome. This is funny. He's flailing. He's flailing.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to follow up on that, unifying crime reporting statistics, numbers from your own Border Patrol, numbers from this government show that the amount of illegal immigrants are down. There is not violence on the border. And that
there's
not as much violence as...
Wait a minute. People
let me finish the question, please. Let me finish the question,
2 weeks ago, 26 people were killed in a gunfight on the border.
I understand what you're saying.
A mile away from where I went.
I was there. I understand. That's not the question. The question is...
Do we forget about that?
No, I'm not forgetting about it. I'm asking you to clarify where you get your numbers, because most of the DEA crime reporting statistics that we see show that drugs are coming across at the ports of entry, that illegal immigration is down, and the violence is down. Okay. So what do you base your facts on?
Come on, let's go. So,
and second,
no, you get one. You get one.
Well, the second
just sit down. Wait, sit down. Sit down.
Could you please answer?
Sit down. You get one question. I get my numbers from a lot of sources, like Homeland Security.
He told him sit down. He's treating him like a child. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
No, he's not treating him like a child. That's how I talk to my dog.
Yeah, right. Sit down. Wait a minute. Let him finish. Let him finish.
Primarily. And the numbers that I have from Homeland Security are a disaster. And you know what else is a disaster? The numbers that come out of Homeland Security, Kirsten, for the cost that we spend and the money that we lose because of illegal immigration. Billions and billions of dollars.
Just so we're clear, Trump is not going to answer that question at all. He's asking him a very basic question. I can look at all of the data, including data from your own government, and it shows that this is nonsense. So what are you getting your data from? And he even asks, he says, can you give us your data? Like the data
I get my stuff from a lot of places. Move on.
Sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
Move on.
So this is bogus. Like, do your friends know that this is a bogus national security thing? Like, because your friends don't cover politics in the same way. But do they get that this is nonsense?
I'm very proud to say that I don't know anyone who buys into this shit. Who's like, Trump is right. And agrees that there should be a declaration of a national emergency. I don't know anyone in my real life
that buys this.
That is down for this.
So Donald Trump had other questions asking him about like media personalities, because once before they had a deal. Donald Trump gets criticism from Fox News crowd, and he balks and essentially pulls away from the table. The government shut down, all that good stuff. So this particular deal where Donald Trump and Republicans decided that Trump was going to sign in order to fund the government, Ann Coulter, Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity completely denounced this deal and trashed this deal completely and started trashing Trump. Now, Ann Coulter starts trashing Trump because Trump takes a swipe at her at the same press conference where he's all over the place when they ask him, about the cultures and all that. And he says, he says she's not rap tight or something like that. He took a swipe at her. So people started immediately asking Ann Coulter, what did she think afterwards? In which case, Ann Coulter responds. Now, her response to this is scathing. Ann Coulter responds to Trump's slam, the only national security emergency is that of our president is an idiot. She goes further, that this is purely just for the dumb base of Trump, meaning it's only the stupid parts of the base that buys into it. Here's another one. The goal is to get Trump's stupidest voters to say he's fighting. No, he's not. If he signs the bill, it's over. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, same thing. Attacking Trump over what's taking place. It's not good. Anything else?
I don't have anything to say about Trump. I don't have anything to add on that. I think if you're watching this show, The Progressive Soapbox, most of us are still really on the same page.
I have Trump voters that watch. Have you talked to them? I prize my Trump voters.
Well, wait. One of the little snippets that I heard from Ann Coulter, she was saying how if you're one of us who was stupid enough to fall for Trump's campaign promises, etc., then
it sounds like Obama, right? Think about it. Lefties, when Obama took office, Obama was talking about public option, and he was using this soaring rhetoric. Now, people looked at him and say he's black, so he's going to do something different. Now, before you say that's racist, I've had white folks who didn't typically vote said, I voted for him because he was black. Literally, no hedge. And his point was, I thought he was going to do something different. Like this identity thing of, I thought race was associated with what the person was actually going to do in an objective world. Not so much. And so he was like, after that time, he was like, I didn't vote for him anymore.
So the people, because some people are saying they're Trump voters in the chat, and you said that...
I say I prize my Trump voters.
You have Trump supporters who come
because
to your show. But what do you... If you're a Trump supporter, I mean, like, do you support him, like, through and through? Like, do you watch this video and say, yeah, he's right, that guy needs to shut up?
I think it's this. At least in my assessment, there are two types. There are more than two types, but at least that would watch. There are the ones who are lefties who believe that the only way to get anything real from a standpoint of change is through the destruction of the Democratic Party. in which case Trump is the radioactive Godzilla to take down King Kong. Granted, that leaves the radioactive Godzilla, but it's still there to take down the King Kong. There's the other group that I think he's the anti-hero. And I mean this in the sense of, it's not so much that he's awesome, it's just that he's attacking elements that they deem not to be awesome, if that makes sense. My thing always boils down to issues of policy. What are you trying to get in an objective world? Do you believe that people should have health care? Do you believe that people should have education? Do you believe that there should be an expansion of Social Security? Do you believe that you can have a better world? Now, I don't think Trump gets you to that better world, but apparently there's some people who believe that he was the lesser of the two evils. Whichever way you want to go with that. I think from a standpoint of getting things done, meaning from the left, he's your best option in order to break the Democratic Party. But supporting him is a little bit different to me. It's gross to me. Not to mention he's doing things that's hurting just regular human beings. And going into one of the things that Trump did that was horrendous, that I said it was horrendous at the time he did it.
What's that?
I even made the point that the majority of the gains in this is going to go to the top 1%. Tax cuts.
Oh, that's our next topic.
Yes.
Good segue, babe.
Yes, those tax cuts. So Donald Trump comes out and passes tax cuts. Those tax cuts put trillions of dollars on the debt. In addition to putting trillions of dollars on the debt, it hits the lowest part. So 83% of the gains go to the top 1%. In doing this tax cut, however, Donald Trump closed a bunch of loopholes. Those loopholes pertain to people who are in the middle class and the poor. Meaning that people saw less on their returns if they got a return at all. And understand, the reason why they're seeing less on those returns is because Donald Trump was giving millionaires and billionaires massive amounts of cash back. Like, he gave them massive tax cuts. But in order to give them massive tax cuts without exploding the deficit beyond what they've exploded the deficit, he had to close loopholes. Those loopholes were for people like you and me.
Me.
My wife. And not just my wife. This runs the gamut. People have been talking about this, saying how they've been getting less money on their returns, or for the first time they had to pay. That is directly attributable to Trump.
Can I say one thing?
Go for it.
Or a couple things. So, I work in healthcare, like on the billing financial side. I do medical coding right now. And the organization who does our accreditations, I'm pretty active in the chapter, and so I speak at some of the events. And so Friday, I spoke at a meeting, and one of my girlfriends came out, and because she's an accountant, she does taxes, and she has come before to speak to other medical coders about how to claim things on their taxes, because a lot of us work remotely, and talk about, the things that you can claim if you own your own business. Not self-employed, but, like if you work from home, basically. So last time she came, like 2 years ago, she had all these good tax breaks, because a lot of times we have to pay to attend educational conferences. We have to, buy our own laptops. We have to pay for additional education classes, all that good stuff. This year, she called me before we did our presentation on Friday, and she was like, it's gone. It's all gone. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she was like, you can't claim anything anymore. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? So she came to the meeting, and she was talking about how when we used to be able to claim like your clothes, the electricity, the extra room that you have for your office, for working from home, you don't get those perks anymore. And so everybody in the room was kind of like, what? I told her, I said, because she was like, should I still come? I don't have any tips. And I said, you have to at least come and tell people, what to expect, because there are so many who work, and not just in our profession, but there are a lot of people who work from home and claim deductions based on all of the money that they have to spend, to basically have their own offices. And this year she was like, the tax code was changed. That whole line for those deductions was taken out. I mean, like if you're self-employed, you still get those deductions, but not us. And it was funny too, because I saw like a check this year, and I was looking at it like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, where the? It's not money. I told my girl, I asked her because she's an accountant. I said, look at this. I was like, where's my
cash?
money?
Where's my
they
loot?
took, what happened? I'm not getting it. I mean,
even if you think Trump is the best thing since sliced bread, this is hitting your wallet. Like, you know, come to Jesus. Like, you know, under the Obama administration, I had to have a come to Jesus. Like, I had to have a real reality check for myself of, yeah, you're supporting the guy, but, you know, some of this stuff, backing the Trans-Pacific Partnership, how does that relate to your support? Meaning, at a certain point, you have to realize that the person I'm supporting is not really the guy who I thought he was. Same thing is true with Trump. Lefties had to have this come to Jesus moment with Obama. Many of them didn't come to Jesus until after Obama left office. I would say that what's taking place with Trump now, the guy screams at the top of his lungs about trying to do something for the economy and juice up the economy, and he turns around and gives people like him massive tax cuts while simultaneously kicking the money out of the hands of people who are at the lower end of the spectrum who put him in that office.
Well, they talked about Amazon. This is a touchy subject for me because I have Amazon paid
zero in taxes. They got money back.
Taxes. Netflix too. They say if you pay the $11 or $14.99, whatever you pay monthly for your Netflix, it's more than Netflix paid in taxes last year. That's painful. That's painful. Yeah, I looked at my check and I was like, where the... Am I going to get it back?
You put a billionaire in office. Like, I mean, let's be honest. You put a billionaire in office. Why do you believe that billionaire is going to represent the interests of people who are part of your class as opposed to representing people who are not, it's like his entire career was spent looking out for himself, and all of a sudden somebody was going to believe that he's going to look out for your interests. No, he's a billionaire. He's going to look out for members of him and his class. Those are the people he move around. Those are the circles to which he understands. He's not even going to fundamentally understand your existence and how you go about your life. He's looking out for him.
Wasn't there some theory that giving a tax break to those billionaires was going to help me?
And of course,
in the long run.
But that's always nonsense. The trickle-down economic stuff. Like, you could also give money to the people at the bottom who goes out and spends that money. Because the fact of the matter is, if you get a tax cut, or if you get money back on your taxes,
you're going to spend it.
You spend it all. Because all of the money that you spend during the course of a week, I'm sorry, I said that weird. If you got any money back from the standpoint of taxes, you're going to spend it back into the economy. Whatever money you get back, because you're already at the margins. So it's like you're already at like 100% of the amount that you get, barely saving. Any money that you get is just money spent back into the economy. Meaning that's more money that's being dumped into companies and businesses and so forth who have to go out and hire more personnel in order to deal with the extra business that it gets. You can grow an economy from the bottom. You should grow an economy from the bottom because that makes more sense. It's more of a stable economy. People will invest that money or spend that money because they don't have a choice but to spend that money. As opposed to giving millionaires and billionaires a tax cut who already are spending whatever they need to spend. The extra money that they get in a tax cut goes into the bank. Maybe it goes to buy back stock. Maybe it goes into something else. But if there is nothing in the economy because there is a slowdown in the economy, they're not going to put the money into the economy. They're not going to waste the money.
Right.
Nobody hires an employee for shits and giggles. Employees are expensive. That's part of the expense of doing a business. They hire an employee when they think they can get something in excess of what that employee can either produce. So it's like if I have a show, if I need somebody to do graphics, if I hire somebody to do graphics, it's going to cut into whatever I can get from the standpoint of revenue, meaning I want to get that guy as least as I can get him, or I don't get him at all.
Right. You're going to hire as little as possible.
Right. Because that's an expense.
As little as financially possible.
Nobody hires just, I want to do a community a good job, so I'm just going to hire for shits and giggles. Nobody does that. You hire when you think you can get a certain amount over top of what the employee can produce. Essentially, the exploitive relationship where that guy works but gets, there's nothing tangible to retain.
John Hill, thanks for that, man. He did a super chat, so I have to say it. Can you take that down? That's very distracting for me. Sorry.
Go ahead,
John Hill says, JT's wife is addicted to Amazon. He told on you. Yeah, I know.
She is.
I am, which I said it's a very touchy subject for me. We have another super chat. It says, right now, Dems, focus hard, says, right now, Dems presidential candidates have no heart. It looks like Joe Biden and Beto will struggle against Trump. Tulsi Gabbard has an outside shot.
So, I partially disagree with that, and I know my audience disagrees with me on this very specific point. Elizabeth Warren's class war thing is abrasive and beautiful. I understand that she's considered weak. I understand that she's considered to have no chance against Trump. I understand all that. I'm talking about purely the political stance that she's carved out for herself has been unapologetic class war. God, I love that. Again, there's something compelling about this notion of declaring an enemy and being willing to go after that enemy in those terms. Now, whether she can pull it off or not, that's a whole other story. Whether she fully believes it, that's a whole other story. I'm just talking about the rhetoric. I love it. But yeah, the taxes thing. That's big, man. I mean, like, people, when they get their taxes, people often use that tax money for trips. They use the tax money for certain things. They may shore up certain things. But they're using the tax money.
Yeah.
Like, giving money to billionaires doesn't trickle down. And oftentimes you have to ask, who's making an argument and why are they making that particular argument? And is there any level of self-interest at all in the fact that they're making that argument? You have millionaires and billionaires, oftentimes within the capitalistic system, explaining to you why they need to be millionaires and billionaires and why it's a good thing for them to be millionaires and billionaires. In fact, the entire perspective that we have when we're looking at the world oftentimes cut within this thing of what you were indoctrinated with. Your concept of right and wrong, your concept of how you weigh the world when you say what's fair and what's not fair is often built around a systemic indoctrination that happened from the time point you're a child to the time point you drop dead. I'm saying that the faculties that we use in the sense of judgment is not always all that accurate. There is something that supersedes that, which is this thing of conscience. What's right? Not necessarily, I'm getting beyond the point. I guess I'm just saying this is hitting people in their wallets. Donald Trump has shown a complete and utter disdain for regular working people. You don't believe me? He was being pretty cavalier about shutting down the government where people didn't get paid. People already live on paycheck to paycheck. Most people don't have $500 in the bank if they need it for an emergency. And by the way, the government shutting down where you're not getting paid is an emergency. My mom, I think about her, how much my mom used to work for the city. If the city would have shut down, she couldn't have gone for, a week without a check. She lived literally paycheck to paycheck. I find maybe that's why this was so deplorable to me. Like why this was so vindictive in the way that he went about shutting down the government in this way and being very cavalier about the fact that he was doing so. This bothered me. And I understand people wanted to be Trump supporters, but that should have bothered them too. Even if you hate the Democratic Party, do you also have such a disdain for your fellow Americans who are just trying to make ends meet? I'm just saying, that fucking bugged me. And the taxes thing, I wonder if a Trump supporter pulls open his tax envelope and it's like, I have to pay $1,000. And they explain to him whether the president made certain changes to the tax code when he was giving those tax cuts. Do they turn around and say, okay.
Well, I saw a lady who, that's exactly what happened. She was a Trump supporter, and she said her accountant got back to her and told her that she owed $5,000 this year, 5 times the amount that she typically paid. And she's like, raving, of course, because, damn.
Do you still support Trump after that? Like, that's not a, I guess I'm asking something very basic on that gets to the heart of this idea of how politics is run to some degree when people invest themselves into political actors. And something like that takes place. So Obama tries to pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership and says this is a progressive piece of legislation. It's nonsense. It was a corporate takeover, a corporate coup d'etat to some degree. How do I look at that and maintain a positive image of Obama? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that?
Is there a straw?
What breaks
what's
the camel's
final
back?
Straw? Yeah.
And does having to pay money in your taxes or not getting back these things that deal directly with your needs, and knowing that he did so in order to give the rich more, even though during the campaign he said he was going to do it. How does that not create a problem here? But nevertheless, I mean, you know, I'm just saying, that's the way I look at it. My thing is always be honest. Be honest.
Bob Ramirsma says The Expanse lives.
Oh, the sci-fi thing. That's a sci-fi thing. It's a thing. He was saying that it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah, he was saying to watch it.
I don't know what that is.
It's a show. Yeah,
Oh.
it's a show. It's supposedly
You
a really
gotta
good show.
Fill me in.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's supposedly really good. It's supposedly really good. There's a story I want to talk about, and I'm going to bring up Mike Bloomberg. So, you know, right now we have, God, I can't think of his name, but there's a billionaire, the one that used to work for Starbucks, is running for the presidency. His only qualification is that he's a billionaire. I can't. His name is escaping me. It'll come to me in a moment. But
Schitzer?
no. It's not. It's not Schitzer. I think Schultz. Howard Schultz.
Schultz.
Howard Schultz.
Yeah, Lori Alt says Schultz. I
Howard
just
Schultz.
screamed the name.
So Howard Schultz. Yeah. So he's a billionaire,
Howard Schitzer. That's why somebody said it. Okay, go ahead.
and he's deciding he's going to run for president. Now, the reason he's running for president, he is just a Democrat. He's a corporate Democrat. And he doesn't like the fact that people like Ocasio and Sanders are coming in saying we need to raise taxes on the rich. And that's his expressed reason for getting into the race. They're talking about taxing me. We had the Democratic Party lock, stock, and barrel, and we had the Republican Party lock, stock, and barrel. We were happy with this arrangement, and these fucking socialists are now running in the Democratic Party. You're trying to take both parties from us. We don't like that. Now, personally, I would say if you have a party for the rich, you should have a party to represent the poor and the 99%. I want there to be open hostilities. I don't want them to have agreements in this way. You can have bipartisan stuff, but bipartisan stuff on my side of the aisle, not theirs. There's some political perspectives that just need to lose. Well, you don't necessarily need to have this kind of bipartisanship. They need to lose. And this idea, well, you have the Democratic Party that for the most part function as Republicans. I don't like that. So I like this idea. Howard Schultz comes out and says, so I'm running as an independent. Now he's running as an independent to punish the Democratic Party for this. Because what he knows is, whether a Democrat or Republican wins, he doesn't care. At the end of the day, his life is great. He's a billionaire. What he doesn't like is any notion of somebody like a Sanders or somebody who's like Elizabeth Warren, who's talking about taxing the rich and taxing his wealth. Yes, he doesn't like that. So he's punishing the Democratic Party by potentially draining away votes and making them lose in the general election. Again, he doesn't care if a Republican
Is anyone going to vote for him?
Some might, yeah. You have corporate Democrats who might. So it's the potential of him draining away votes. So that's the thing that they're terrified of. And that's the thing that he knows, and he's hitting them with that. He's saying, oh, there's no situation where I'm going to let Trump win. But he's inoculated from that. He doesn't care. So there's that part. Also, in this process, Mike Bloomberg, who is also a billionaire, is saying that he's going to spend he's nearly $500 million, $500 million in the presidential race.
To support Schultz?
No, to be against Trump.
Oh. Is he going to give it to Bernie?
No.
Oh.
My point is this. You have a billionaire who's decided to just run in the race. You have a billionaire who ran in the last presidential race. Trump may or may not be a billionaire, but who was putting other millionaires and billionaires in political positions because they were given to his political party. So Betsy DeVos, who has a hard-on for privatizing schools and getting rid of the public school education system. He puts her in office. She's given $250 million to the Republican interests. Mnuchin, that's Kamala Harris's guy, the one that she let off. All of these guys have interests in destroying the areas that he put into office. So instead of having a politician being the intermediary, he just said, fuck it, I'm just going to put in the billionaires and millionaires into those positions. In this case, now you have Bloomberg, who says, I am going to put $500 million into the political process against a particular political opponent, even if I don't like Donald Trump. This is gross. This is an overt buying of the political system. It's one thing that we already knew that they were buying politicians because what, 90% of the races that are won by the side with the most cash.
Money,
Yeah. So we knew it. It was one of those things that we knew it. But we knew it in more of a diffused way. That money was acting kind of behind the scenes. This has gotten to the point where there is just an open declaration of, yes, we are raping you. That is exactly what is taking place. Or, yes, I'm going to slap you. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to apologize to you after. Let's just stop with the pretense. Let's just get to doing what we're going to do. It's an abusive relationship. Ultimately, you have millionaires and billionaires who've just gotten to the point where they shamelessly either buy politicians, in the case of Klobuchar, who comes out and says, I'm going to shut my purse strings if you guys mention socialists again. Or, like this, Bloomberg, I'm going to spend on the floor $500 million to buy and instigate my own political opinion into the political process. Why is this okay? I don't care who he's against. I don't like Donald Trump. I don't care who he's against. It's the point that millionaires and billionaires are buying and instigating themselves into our political process. This is supposed to be a democratic system. How can it be a democratic system when you have millionaires and billionaires who are using their money to have outsized influence?
Yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake. Like, this is massively not okay. Whether it's Schultz, none of these people should have this much political clout into our political process if it is indeed a democratic process. Just doesn't seem all that democratic to me. Sorry. This bugs the shit out of me. I mean, why is this okay? That should not be okay. That should not be okay. I'm sorry, go for it.
I have a super chat.
Go for it.
Trudy says, Mrs. A.T. Jamarl told us about Amazon as a full disclosure. I'm addicted to. She says she's addicted to Amazon too.
Jeff Bezos got the billions of dollars.
It's an addiction.
He got it for a reason, man.
Demon.
Look, the problem with Amazon is that it's in private hands. Now, somebody is going to call me a communist for saying that, but let me explain my point. It's the same problem with Uber and many of these things. It's the technology in and of itself is awesome. I mean, you have a distribution center or a distribution model that allows goods and supplies to get to people who need them pretty much anywhere in the world. If for the moment these weren't just trinkets and shit and piss items, but these were items that were necessary for human survival, say for the moment that these were things that people just needed to get in their way of going about their behaviors, this will be perfectly okay. The problem with it is somebody is getting billions of dollars off of it, and in doing so is getting outsized political influence. Do you know he's bought the Washington Post? Or like a controlling interest in Washington Post? Millions of dollars from the CIA are doing this. He sits on boards, in these kind of military boards. They're building technology for the military thing. Like, it's integrated to some degree in a political system. Meaning, just because he has all of that money, he gets outsized influence in the political space. It's particularly because our political system is based on cash. You can buy politicians. You can set up super PACs. Hell, you can have a politician who raises no money himself that just gets by on a super PAC that buys ads for him and buys all that stuff. And no, there's not supposed to be coordination. But if he comes out and does a campaign ad, well, the super PAC clearly has eyes and they can follow along with what he's trying to give. Meaning they can do call and response. Yes, Jeff Bezos is a problem. Imagine for the moment, though, Uber creates autonomic cars, which is what they're trying to do. Automatic cars. And with those automatic cars, they have solar panels on the cars themselves. And those cars, minimalists, drive, picks up a person, takes them to where they're going. The person gets out, the person pays automatically, and the car goes on, but its way it does the same thing. It does this automatically, driving around society. This is an awesome thing. Cuts down on pollution, and it's also convenient as all hell. And in many cases, people may stop using cars if they had a service like this. Problem is this is in private hands, and because it's in private hands, it's a profit-making enterprise. In the moment that you stop using cars, you're going to jack up the prices. Another problem with this is, even though that is an awesome way of going about public transportation needs to some degree, you've just fired all of these people who were working for taxi cabs. Not to mention you fired the people working for Uber who already weren't being paid all that well. A lot of this is in the way that we think about it, we organize ourselves, not necessarily in the technology itself. It is damn convenient. Personally, I want public transportation to be more robust. But having that stuff in private hands where these guys are making billions of dollars, billionaires should not exist. Billionaires should not exist. Just saying. And even if we're going to have things in private hands, the government, when the government invests in something, it should get a kickback on its return, and that money should go to everybody else. Meaning the government, yes, should be in the business of reaping benefits off of an investment and distributing that out to the public as a public trust of sorts, kind of like a universal basic income. That's my thought. I hate this idea. The public, all of this money goes into creating the internet, and then the government just says, "Okay, here, you can have it."
Yeah.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense. All right. Anything else on taxes?
No. People have moved on. Trudy says the debt is majorly what we owe ourselves. They're talking about Amazon versus eBay and where to buy from instead. Shaming people who shop at Amazon.
I mean, you look. All right. You know what? I'm going to give a slight defense of this. It's going to shock you for me to say this, but I'm going to give a defense for the Amazon shoppers, the lefty Amazon shoppers, because I think that's where it hits home. You're in a society with certain pressures that are on you as individuals. If you have a kid, if you are a single parent, you have certain things that you need to get your kids. There's certain things that you need to buy. There's certain things that you may need to go from point A to point B with. And choosing to spend more money or take more time in order to do those things becomes somewhat of a chore. All of the pressures and all the incentives into this process go towards finding the thing that's the cheapest that you can get, that's the most available that you can get. So your time that is very precious can be spent in areas that doesn't necessarily involve hunting, looking for a particular item, and paying more for that item. If it is true that the median income in the United States is like $30-some thousand, I don't know who has the extra oomph in their income to go buy things at a higher price just because of, just kind of moral reasons. Like, I'm paying extra money that I don't have out of morality. I don't necessarily think it works that way. I mean, at the end of the day, if people are in a situation where they care about their needs, they have needs that need to be met, and there are fiscal constraints on what they can afford, then it would be odd for them to go to some other shop in order to get this.
I feel you. Amazon is evil. We get it.
Now, to be fair though, my wife. This doesn't include my wife. My wife buys stuff from Amazon, just about stuff from Amazon. But there are I'm throwing you under the bus on this one.
I've been under the bus. It's fine.
I'm throwing you under the bus on this one. And to be fair, I don't buy stuff from Amazon like talking about. I get movies and shows, but to some degree she buys it.
Amazon. Somebody said that they bet that your sweaters come from Amazon. They don't. Thank you very much. They don't come from Amazon. Jamal doesn't shop at Amazon. I'm the problem. I'm the shamed one.
To be fair, there's an episode of Seinfeld that makes us that and I'll move on after this. Elaine is with Putty. I don't know if you guys remember Putty, but she's with Putty, and she finds out that Putty is a rabid Christian. Like, he is an insane, like, Christian to the hilt. And she's like, he gets her to go steal the newspaper. So he would say, she would steal the newspaper. He was like, well, I'm okay with you stealing it. I mean, you're already going to hell, so what does it matter? Like, she's like, what do you mean? She says, well, I can't steal it because I'm a Christian. But if you steal it, then that's okay since you're going to hell anyway.
So I'm already screwed.
I guess my thought is, I don't have to shop at Amazon because my wife shops at Amazon. And if it was a situation where I wasn't married, would I shop at Amazon? I don't know. I buy movies from Amazon, so
I would like to point out that we don't shop at Walmart. That has been no. Don't say I don't. We don't shop at Walmart. That has been true for quite some time, years since we stopped shopping at Walmart. And I used to go to Walmart all the time. And I think that, unfortunately, out of convenience, Amazon for me has replaced Walmart. I've kind of tried to, like, go to the store, so now I'm kind of like getting addicted to Target and stuff like that. But it's out of convenience. Somebody said that, I think Trudy said she shops at Amazon because she can't bring herself to leave the house. I work from home, and
by the way, just so we're clear, the trend, what is going to take place in the next 30, 40 years is going to be a trend towards not going to stores. Like, Amazon is just the beginning. The distribution of goods to people's houses is going to become somewhat more integrated. So, you know, your icebox, you run low on milk, and a signal is sent out at the end of the week saying the person needs this, 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 and this because there's indicators on the items that are in your icebox. And somebody comes to your house and leaves a box of goods at your door. You may have another situation of food, like Grubhub. Grubhub has gotten to the point where all sorts of these fast food places now deliver. So McDonald's delivers. You know, it's like Wawa's delivers. That faculty is going to become more robust, not less. I mean, even if when you get to the point of automated cars, the car's just going to come to your house and you're probably just going to walk out and just get your item. And they're not going to need a person to be involved in that process, with the exception of, you know, putting the stuff in a food thing. Even groceries. When you're going to grocery counters now and you see that there's portions of it where you can do self-checkout. They're doing that as that's the beginning. I mean, they're going to hire less because they're going to need to hire less. Many of those processes are going to become more automated. Same thing with convenience stores. They're testing technology, Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, where a person walks into a store, picks up the items they want, and it is automatically charged to your card without a person needing to be there to ring you up. You just walk in, pick up what you want, and leave. You're automatically charged. Like, we're talking about an automated society where human beings factor in that society less and less. But that's good. That's good. The only problem with this is the perspective of humanity, where we look at this as we're going to give somebody billions of dollars for making these things easier to use, if that makes sense. Like, it's a perspective shift. Like, if your society acknowledged that the goal of life is not to have a job, the goal in life is to live. The jobs are those things that allow you to live. And if we can decrease the amount of work that we do, because as a society we're providing the goods that we need because of technological solutions to things, that's a better world. But we don't think of the world in those terms. We think of the world in terms of jobs. These things naturally are going to get rid of jobs. It's like the elevator person. There's no guy on the elevator. Do you need him? Do you want him? Do you really want a guy who's just standing on the elevator pulling a knob on it? Do you really want a person dropping fries?
Like a friendly greeting.
Yeah, but why would you want a human being with all of his abilities and skills doing that?
I feel you.
I don't want to just have a job for the sake of a job, which is what our system does. Hey, we need somebody to dig a hole, and then we need somebody to fill that hole back. And that's great because it created a job. It's like, not so much.
Somebody said the only answer is to stop shopping.
Good luck. You have things that you need. Marla79. How many more appearances to the Breakfast Club will Kamala Harris make to keep her firewall? You know, because she goes to the Breakfast Club and says she smoked pot.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah. And
shenanigans.
Let's go to Kamala Harris now, because I have a scene from dealing with Kamala Harris. All right, so this is...
That's your next topic?
Yeah. Yeah, all right. This is Kamala Harris, and this is Kamala Harris with hot sauce. This is Texas Pete. It has sauce right here. Now, this photo is jarring to me. She's being caught with hot sauce, eating this food. I think this is trying to up her black credibility of sorts. But if you are already black, why are you trying to up your black credibility by being caught with hot sauce? Also, that's somewhat racist in and of itself.
Could she have just been out eating hot sauce?
No, she's a politician.
I mean, like, politicians got to eat too, right?
No, she's a politician. If she's out for reasons.
Wait, go back to the picture. She is putting hot sauce on greens. Do you understand?
So what?
She's serious about it.
Babe, she's you're I don't want to use the term naive, but I will that in this case. She's a politician. As a politician, she has a very busy... a very busy schedule. If she decides that she wants to get caught with a picture, then she's deciding to get caught with a picture. That picture doesn't get taken unless Kamala Harris wants this picture to be taken. It's just like when Hillary Clinton got asked the question about aliens. She got that question asked because she wanted that question asked. Even in the docs, in the WikiLeaks docs, it kind of made up. This is a picture that she wanted. That picture doesn't exist unless Kamala Harris wants that picture to exist. Now, I've used the term African American. And maybe this term is hurtful. Because maybe she's self-conscious about her blackness. Now, you could say that this is just her being her. I don't think that's the case. I think that's her trying to get caught up in the black vote.
Whip out that hot sauce.
Whip out that hot sauce. If you remember, this hot sauce thing feels so racist to me.
Can I just say, for the record,
I don't use hot sauce like
I don't
that.
use hot sauce.
not to that extent. Like, I use it on fish. But I use it, it's a thing. I don't know how this gets associated with black in this way. I feel this is slightly racist. Now, but nevertheless, if you remember, Hillary Clinton comes out pandering, pandering like nobody's business, saying that she keeps hot sauce in her pocketbook. And it's like, goddamn well, you don't keep hot sauce in your pocketbook. Why are you saying that? And it's like, I need to get the black vote, so how can I get the black vote? I'm just going to throw out a trope about hot sauce.
All the time.
Just say chicken.
I love it. Ooh, don't go there, baby.
Just say chicken.
Next year,
don't do the
watermelon.
No. Don't be honest. Just say, I like hot sauce on my chicken, or be like the other guy said, there's a black woman in me that's screaming to get out. I'm Hillary Clinton. Just go there. Fuck it. Go there.
This is classier to have somebody.
No, it's not.
Because take a picture of you eating with hot sauce.
Yeah, it's classier, but it's doing the same thing. Like, it's manipulative on his face. All I'm saying is this. It's like this clamoring for the black vote. And it's like, how can we get these darkies to vote for us in the way that Obama did? I know we need to mimic them. We need to act like them. It's like when you're visiting the natives and you're trying to mimic the natives, but you have no idea what the hell you're doing. So it's like, hot sauce. Those darkies eat hot sauce.
Darkies?
A lot of them eat hot sauce. All right. So I keep hot sauce in my pocketbook. Right here. I keep this with me at all times. Because I never know when I'm going to break out some chicken and there's going to be a cookout and we're going to be like, yeah,
I don't know of any black people who travel with hot sauce.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
Somebody said they're white and they like hot sauce. Just to be clear, I know that this picture was staged. I'm not it's naive.
Yeah, and that's the other weirdness with this, right? As if blacks have some magical affinity to hot sauce that other races don't. It's like we make up 13% of the population. Do you honestly believe that Texas Pete is being kept in the business on the support of black? It's like, come on! Why? How does this trope have legs in the way that it has legs?
Somebody said she wouldn't really be eating there at that restaurant. I don't know what the what? I don't know. They're trying to seem like ordinary people.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Just don't. I don't need that from you.
Beto has the mouth thing where he went to the dentist. Like Ocasio-Cortez does the dancing video and be like, oh, this shit's so cool. And she cooks and talks to her audience. And it's like, oh my God, she's just a regular person. Okay, fair enough. And then the other ones are like, how can we get that authenticity? That's the question. How do we get the authenticity? And it's like, all right, we can get that authenticity by doing things that regular people do. That we typically wouldn't be caught doing, but that regular people do. So we need to behave and act like regular people. Authenticity is the thing that's in this political climate. And so they take these pictures like this in order to,
That reminds me of people making this big stink. Now, to be clear, it wasn't him who took the picture. It was like somebody else that posted on the social media. Mm-hmm. When Bernie was running in the primary, somebody had a picture of him on the subway.
Oh, seriously? That's funny.
But that wasn't like a photo op. That was like somebody that was like, holy shit, there's Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And they took a picture of Bernie Sanders on the train. But no, yeah, this is definitely not just.
All right. Now, pursuant to this one also, there's this
what
picture.
What is that? Oh.
this. Barbara Lee has endorsed Kamala Harris. Now, lefties hated this. Lefties were pissed at this. You had people who were like, Kamala Harris is off. I mean, you know, Barbara Lee has been written off my list and all this other stuff. And people are like, oh my God, why on earth was she? Why would Barbara Lee do this? How? People were pushing for Barbara Lee to be Speaker of the House, and for Barbara Lee to come out and endorse Kamala Harris.
She probably the one that gave her the hot sauce.
That's racist, babe.
That's not racist.
That's so racist.
That's not racist. Somebody said, ouch, why? I loved you. Yeah. Barbara Lee also endorsed Hillary.
Now, why do you think somebody who's considered a lefty... Do you know Barbara Lee, Barbara Lee came on my radar when after we were hit on 9/11. And she comes out and gives this speech that essentially says, we need to be very clear about just declaring war in this way. This is going to come back to haunt us, and we are going to end up doing bad things around the world. This is going to be, you know, tremendously bad, et cetera, et cetera. So that's essentially, that's her. You know, she came out and gave this anti-war speech immediately during the ramp up to the war. Like, amazing. And she pushes for the lefty policies and stuff like that. So this was a killer because it seems out in line with her political disposition to support Kamala Harris. What do you think? And let me ask a question. Is it because she's black or African?
Say that again. I was reading the super chat. I'm not going to lie.
Is it because Barbara Lee, who was part of the Congressional Black Caucus, if I'm not mistaken, she was the chair. Is it because Kamala Harris is black?
Is she backing Kamala Harris because she's African?
And a woman?
I don't know. I don't know why these people do what they do. Mostly for money.
Well, because here's the thing.
Gains?
When Obama... But no, that's not... She's not getting money in personal gain for this. Barbara Lee's not getting anything out of this.
Can I read
Wait
some?
a minute. When... Oh, fuck. I lost my place. My train of thought. Go ahead. Research.
Anthony Reyes says, Nico House said it best. Lee sold out for a position. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's she getting out of it?
Is it possibly that she is black and that Kamala Harris is somewhat black? And is it also possible that it is because she's a woman? She hits both boxes.
I mean, I think
there's a woman as a president and a black woman as a president.
Possible. It's possible. I mean, do you know how many people came out to vote for Obama just because he was black?
Yes. It was
a lot of people.
It was a lot.
You know how many people were backing Hillary just because she had a JJ?
A lot.
A lot of people.
A lot.
So could Lee be backing her just because she has a JJ and she's black? Possibly.
African.
Well,
she's half Jamaican and half I think it was like half Jamaican and half something else. I'm not going to keep saying that because that sounds bad. When somebody else was like, "What?" It was like,
because you said African.
Yeah, I wasn't.
It sounds rough.
It sounds rough. And yeah, I'm not going to keep saying that. That sounds too bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't
like a slur.
It does sound like a slur, but I didn't mean it as a slur. I just thought it sounded funny. But it's because she's a black woman.
Maybe.
I mean, I took it as, you know, Barbara Lee is like, this person has
get
nothing
my sister in office.
Yeah. Now, when Obama ran, I know a lot of people voted for him just because he was a Democrat. You had a lot of other people who voted for him with an extra oomph because he was black. But many of those African Americans would have voted anyway. Now, you had a section of percentage, let's say 4 or 5%, on top of that said, he's black, fuck it, I'm going to support my brother, have at it. And even to this day, just because he's black, they just support him.
What's his name came out and said he would never speak anything ill about
Obama. Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
Al Sharpton said that. I would never say anything bad about Obama.
I'll never come out against Obama.
Because there was a certain protectiveness that the African American community had with Obama because Republicans were just so gross and so racist and the way they were attacking him on some of this stuff. But I saw that and I was like, I don't know if she sold out of position. I was like, is it just because she's a black woman? Now, Barbara Lee could never admit that.
I know, but that makes... I mean, I guess that's why, like, if you really, really were going hard for Barbara Lee, if you really liked her, then you're like, oh, come on.
This hurt.
Come on, man. Like,
this hurt.
What do you... For why? Why?
Lefties all over the place said it hurt.
Yeah.
The lefties, that, like, this... Like, people were like, I'm checking her off my list and all. I'm not checking Barbara Lee off my list. I mean, she's a Democrat. And she's for whatever reason, she's hitched her star to the Kamala Harris bandwagon. Checking her off my list seems too strong, not for something like this where it's like one thing. You know, I care about the policies that people push and everything else. There's something to say about who those people support, so fair enough. But this didn't go down well. This didn't go down well at all.
Read your Streamlabs.
I have a Streamlabs up at one point. Yeah. Anything else to say about that one?
No, that's just pretty much the consensus. Is anybody team Kamala Harris?
No.
Is there anybody in the chat?
No, they're not.
Raise your hand if you're team Kamala Harris.
I don't even think they'd admit to it.
And they're like, okay, raise your hand if you saw. That's how I do in my meetings because I can see people. But like,
okay, wait a minute. Get mad. Yep. Kamala own father disowned her for playing identity politics. I told you she has no shot in winning. Get mad. Yep. Get mad. Yep.
She has no shot.
I don't know if that's Baltazar or
well,
that sounds like Gardner.
John Hill said read your stream chat.
Oh, John Hill. Okay. Yeah, this sounds like Gardner. Like I told you, she has no chance in winning. She has no shot.
Kamishwara Kate says her husband loves Kamala Harris. Everyone else is saying no.
Really?
Everyone's raising their hands. Does anybody look at Kamala Harris with the hot sauce and say, okay, girl, okay, homegirl.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Not Barbara Lee. Don't say Barbara Lee.
Not Barbara Lee didn't do that. This sounds bad, but I bet your friends would.
Would look at the hot sauce?
I bet that they would be either members of your family or friends
that looked at the picture.
That would look at this picture and say, she's just like me. And I don't mean that in a racist way. I mean that in the sense of the whole reason that she puts that picture out there like that is so people can have a certain commonality with her. And even though there are people who most people don't pay attention to politics in this way. Most people may look at that as reality, that she just got caught with that, just, on the side. She was just in a corner to herself, just eating her chicken with hot sauce.
Maybe I'm going to ask my friends.
And the reason I say that, I've had conversations with your aunt. Where that time your aunt, we were talking about... What?
That's a fail.
What's a fail?
Go ahead.
We were watching, I think, something was on TV, and it was about Clinton. And they were attacking Clinton for something. And I was like, yeah, that's a bogus attack. They were hitting on that. And she was like, yeah. And I think she thought she was in a safe space, and she said something about Clinton, and I ate her alive. And she looked at me with this kind of shock, like, oh.
You have a record for... inappropriate.
It wasn't inappropriate. We were talking about
and not knowing when it's inappropriate, like to go after. And I ate her a lot. Just your view of the events that took place gives you an idea of how fucked up the situation is. Because you're sitting there with my family and I ate her ass alive, and it's like, bring it down. We're trying to watch TV.
Ate her alive is too strong.
Yeah, it's inappropriate.
That's too strong.
Okay, wait, you got super chat.
I just pointed out that her knowledge of this stuff, or questioned her knowledge of this stuff, and it was found to be lacking. I just said that way.
Okay, Charles.
She was angry at me. Even at the wedding, she didn't like me very much. She did. She had some feelings.
Charles Pereira. Let's not talk about my family on YouTube. Just because you be talking about your mama on YouTube. Don't bring my family.
I didn't say anything bad about her.
Don't bring my family into this. Don't bring my family into this because you talk about your mama and me on YouTube, but that's a whole nother episode. We'll say that for the personal blog. Charles Pereira says, if not Tulsi or Bernie, maybe, I want Trump reelected. He shows imperialism, true colors, and actually is a rod for criticism of the empire.
The capitalist system itself. Like, he's so gross and over the top that it causes a critique of the system itself, just because of him being an avatar of it. Because oftentimes they look at these guys as political leaders and just boil everything down to the person. So it's like, oh, look how horrible Donald Trump is, and if we just get some random centrist in there who represents the interests of the 1%, the world will go back to normal. Like, they're looking for a normality that never existed. There is nowhere to go back to. There was nowhere to come back from. Like, ultimately, you decide what you want your world to be at each particular moment. And I'm saying it from the standpoint of us as a collective. This is not an act of God. This is an act of policy. Having Trump in that office enacting policies like this, like tax cuts and outright shutting the government out, it shows the political corruption in this kind of most vulgar form. There's something to said about knowing who your enemy is and everybody having a clear target on the person. But I don't want Trump reelected again. Unless, if it's a Sanders, yeah. If it's
Wait, what? Say it again?
If it's Trump and Kamala Harris, I'm voting for Jill Stein again, or whoever runs in the Green Party. I abstain from that vote. I don't have a dog in that hunt. But I don't want him reelected again, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't want Clinton reelected. I didn't want Trump elected. I didn't want either one of them elected. I thought both were horrible, so my trust was neither. Trump is fucking god awful. And if Trump gets elected again, they're going to go after Social Security and Medicare full board. And there's nothing anybody's going to be able to do about it.
Focus Hard says it's too early to support any candidate.
Fuck that.
Well, that's because
Sanders.
Bernie isn't running yet.
Yeah, Sanders. I'm supporting Sanders. Sanders.
Kamashwari Kate says the same thing. She's with Focus Hard. It's too early to get behind a candidate. Let's see what we have to work with. What are you
talking about? Bernie!
Bernie has not technically.
What are you talking about? They're rumblings. We just did the story on the rumblings. Are you repudiating the previous
Don't
story?
use rumbling. It sounds like GI.
The rumblings. Bernie Sanders announcing 2020 campaign. It's time to get on board. Get on board, yeah.
Jesus looks up to Bernie. Bernie and Tulsi 2020. Thomas Taylor, the Dems have moved too far to the right. I agree. Y'all are extra left. Yes.
Sanders is, it's God. It's what is it called? A dialectic. Sanders is even though he calls himself a socialist, he's a correction to the capitalist system. If that makes sense. Like, the system itself is ripping itself apart based on the incentives in the system. You have people who are just outright greed, and that greed gets a political expression in the money that can be dumped into the political affairs. And clearly, if the people are dumping money into those political affairs and it's based on greed, they're doing it to get a return on their investment. This is going to skew the political space because it yanks everybody into the interests of the top 1%. You have a media who are owned by billionaires who pay millionaires to tell the rest of the population that millionaires and billionaires are fucking awesome and that the way the politics goes is the way that politics has to go. People get accustomed to it and they think this is the way it always has to be because this is the way it has been or this is the way it is now. Sanders is a corrective. Like in the same way that FDR was corrective. The capitalist system itself, it's almost like as it tries to pull itself apart, this human element that seeks balance is trying to find balance within this particular system. That balance is not going to exist within the system, but there may be somewhat of a corrective from here and now and then to try to mend the edges. Sanders comes into this and says, this has gone too far, we need to do something about it. But Sanders in no way wants to challenge or destroy the system itself that's propagating these excesses. The only thing he wants to do is try to rebalance it in a particular way. He calls himself a socialist, but he's not a socialist. But that said, would his policies be dramatically better? Yes. And would he skew the conversation to the left in a way that wins beget wins? Meaning there's no way where you're going to make a conversation that drags America into a particular, like all the way over into space. But you can meet people where they are, and you can make that argument, and you can drag the conversation to the left. That allows you a context to drag the conversation further still. He's my guy. He's a horse and backing. I don't have to wait, the rumblings are enough.
People are saying Jill Stein is not going to be running. Warren as VP makes a lot of sense for the party, but she'll lose as POTUS. Focus Hard says some Dems haven't learned from 2016 presidential elections. That's true.
Well, but understand why. Why would you learn? Why? Like, why would you learn in this case? You have a situation where Hillary Clinton loses in this big splashy election to the guy that just did that wildly incoherent and bitter press conference. She lost a reality show host. Now, in losing to that reality show host, Republicans swept in all levels of government, House, Senate, Supreme Court, all of it, taken by Republicans at that level of failure of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, instead of learning from this failure, losing 1,100 seats all throughout the United States, they scream Russia. That was their scream. Not how can we fix this, not a come to Jesus, not what are the problems associated with the party that people view us with such disdain, none of that. Fucking Russians. Nancy Pelosi herself even said people will come back around to us. After all, it's a two-party system. And people just kind of get tired of one and go back to the other, get tired of one, go back to the other, in which case you have the seesaw government where nothing actually gets done because people are flip-flopping, being completely dissatisfied. They voted for a black man with a Muslim name who was screaming change. Then they voted for Donald Trump, who probably couldn't spell the two terms Muslim name, but for the most part represented change in and of himself because he was supposed to be something different. In both cases, the public was looking for change. In neither case did the public get that change. So, you know, it's like, it's there. There's a potential here for something, there's a potential for something good. I guess my point is, why would the Democrats change in this? When, after everything that's said and done, without taking any level of responsibility for the failures, people voted back into the House. Like,
so
the logic of it is intact. I guess my point is, if you're looking at this from the standpoint of how do you give as little as possible while getting the public to vote for you again, why would you change? The model needs to be broken. Until that model is thoroughly smashed, where, okay, we can't get elected by fucking around and just blaming Republicans. We need to actually be something fundamentally different. Until that model is broken, I don't, why would they change? What are the incentives to change? I mean, there were some bright spots. I think Ocasio is a bright spot. I think she's weak on some stuff. But I think there are bright spots. But overall, when you're talking about the direction of the party itself, and Nancy Pelosi is like, Medicare for all, don't worry about it. Telling healthcare companies, don't worry about it. The Green New Deal, she was like the Green New whatever it's called. Like, openly derisive to these type of things. So, it's like, why would the party change if the party doesn't necessarily, until that party thinks we're going to lose persistently, constantly, in perpetuity, until we, that role by Whoopi Goldberg in Color Purple, until you do right by me, that line, until they do right by the public, they fail. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I think it has to be. Okay. Otherwise, how do you get change? Like, what reason would they change if they know they can be swept back in office by doing the exact same thing they were doing before? Why would you change? Why? Sorry, I don't mean a tangent, but, it's like every incentive in the world is for them to behave a particular way, and people are like, why are they behaving the way they're behaving? My mom said as much. Like, when she was like, well, they got to change. They got to do something different. I was like, why?
But why?
You voted for Clinton.
See how I told you you'd be talking about your mom?
She did vote for Clinton. You did too, for that matter.
I wrote in Bernie.
That didn't count. I did tell him that, by the way. I was like, she wrote in Sanders, but that didn't count.
Somebody said Jamarl 2020.
You don't want me. You don't want me.
That's not what you want.
You don't want
Who's
me.
Bernie's VP? People are talking about Gabbard, Nina.
I'm okay with
Bernina.
Gabbard. I'm okay with Gabbard as a thing, because I like her. And the anti-war thing is compelling to me, man. That is massively compelling to me. I love this. I want her on the stage arguing that we need to stop these conflicts and open about it, and honest about it. Because her platform is, I'm anti-war. And so from the standpoint of her platform, she needs to be logically consistent, which means she comes out anti-war on everything. So when Venezuela comes out, the United States should not be involved in these coups. We've been taking these countries down left, right. It's like, yes! Somebody said it! It's like, somebody said it! Or in Syria, it's like, we shouldn't be involved in this regime change thing that's taking place in Syria. We've been given the weapons, we've been, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, oh my God, somebody said it. Now, for that, they says, oh, she's a Putin puppet who's an Assad apologist and all this other stuff. It's like the very act of saying, I don't want my government bashing and taking down other government somehow makes me a Assad puppet. These people are lunatics. But I want her on that stage, whether she wins or not. I want her on that stage to have that debate and push Sanders to the left. And if she gets a Secretary of State position out of it, fucking A. Fucking A. All right, let's see. And Trudy's.
Wait.
You have another one before Trudy's?
No, I just want to make an announcement.
Go for it.
I just want to do the patron spiel again before you go to your next topic. So the next topic that he's going to do is one that was suggested by a patron. So of course you guys know this is the weekly patron appreciation show, which is to do just that, show appreciation for patrons, and like Clyde said, for people who donate in any platform, whether it be Patreon or PayPal or Streamlabs.
If you send me an email, I'll send you a link to the patron appreciation episodes if you're donated through PayPal or Streamlabs.
Yes.
What I need to do is find I need to get a website and then just have like a entry point to the website where all of the shows will be available. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm still done. I'm still
Go ahead.
doing
I'm sorry, babe.
So, if there's a couple people we have.
Mama's so sexist.
We're at 213.
He's beating his wife. Sorry. You know they did it with Sanders. When Sanders.
Oh my goodness! Could you not interrupt me?
He was trying
That's
to
so
get to the mic, and he told
racist.
Sanders kind of was moved Jane or said something to Jane. It's like, oh my God, he's so sexist. He put his hands on Jane, and he's like, oh, you people are embarrassing. I'm sorry, babe. Go ahead. You have my permission to continue.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can continue.
Thank you for that. So, patron appreciation is for the patrons, for the audience, for everybody who subscribes. And so the weekly show is, the announcement is sent out to patrons, and then they have the opportunity to suggest topics.
Yes.
And then after this live viewing, the video will be taken down and it will only be available to patrons. So if you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. Jamal says, I say just $1 a month will get you access to whatever's on Patreon.
We flatten the tiers.
See, he does it all the time. You know, when you used to do videos and people would be like, stop interrupting your guest.
I don't interrupt my guests anymore.
What is this? I'm being interrupted, and I'm trying to do
we're having a conversation.
A spiel. People are saying that they donate. Yes, thank you. Let me speak. Thank you. For people who donate outside of Patreon, send Jamal an email. Send Jamal an email, and he'll get you the content, the exclusive Patreon content, because it's not just the patrons who are appreciated. It's everybody that donates to make the channel go. So,
it's appreciated, guys.
Somebody said Jamal is usually a good listener.
I am also.
He's a good listener, but like when he's impassioned about something, fuck your opinion, okay? Like if you're like,
that's not true. The entire show is based on context, but even within context, you have to.
But like if I'm going about something.
What have I said? Fuck your opinion on?
No, it's not fuck your opinion. It's just like if you are passionate about something and you have something that you say that you feel like you have to say, forget the fact that I'm in the middle of a point or the middle of a sentence. What you want to say is going to trump that, and you're like, but wait a minute.
I'm an Aries moon.
I don't care.
And not just that. Usually, I've already accepted what you said, and I've moved on. Meaning I've internalized what you said. I've just internalized it fast.
Rabs S27 said, "Stop being rude. Just accept. You're the new Michael Brooks." Oh wait, I'm the new Michael Brooks.
The work life.
Am I Michael Brooks?
The work life. I don't think I do the fuck your opinion thing. Sometimes, I mean, it depends.
No, I just meant that was maybe not the best terminology, but you just
if it's somebody who I don't like, then yeah, fuck your opinion. I'm not gonna govern my opinion based on somebody who I consider to be an enemy. By the same token, oftentimes in the conversation, I've already jumped to the end of what the person was saying. Like, but I know what you mean. But I don't think I've ever done it. Not often, the fuck your opinion thing. That's usually just an open argument.
No, okay, never mind. Moving on.
Yeah. Also, it depends on.
Somebody said this is a domestic dispute that they're witnessing.
See, there you go, Trudy. Nope, JT lets his guests go on and on and on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that wasn't a compliment. I think that was kind of like a little backhand.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, like maybe when people call in and you're like,
I have a higher opinion of Trudy than to believe that was a backhand. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt.
oh, okay.
That's my thought. That's my thought. I'm trying to
Okay,
think,
so
is there anything else?
moving.
Is there anything else? Oh, I know what I was going to say. Guys, what she's saying here is right with the patron appreciation thing. I do this show. I enjoy doing this show. And I try to find stuff that's of interest to me, seeing as this is kind of my own, this is just how I am. I bug the shit out of her about the stuff in the same way that I talk about it on camera. So there's no really deviation between who I am off camera and on camera. I like this stuff. And my thought was, if other people like it too, the world is great. You guys allow me to do what I do on this. And I appreciate you guys letting me do it for as long as I can do it. So the least I can do is this show. I don't like graveling for money at all. And that was part of the hardest changeover, I think, in regard to doing this show, of trying to either put up the patron thing and all this other stuff. The tiers have been flattened. So even $1 gets you pretty much all the content. I don't necessarily want to do this thing of, okay, this $5 gets you all of this and $6 gets you all of this. I understand that that's a better incentive to get people to contribute and everything else, and to get them to contribute higher amounts. I would just say, if you enjoy the content, please consider contributing. And whatever that amount is, even if it's just $1, it all helps. And I thank you for it. So,
Hi, Sir Bikes a Lot says, how did you catch such a beautiful, smart woman? Let's hear this.
So I went on a dating application, and both of us.
Well, do we go?
What are you doing? Both of us were on a dating app, and I think it was like maybe 2 people who I talked to before my wife. One woman was like, "I don't want you to die," and the second one, it just never came up. And so my wife, Aisha and I, we just started sending tweets, messages back and forth. And I asked her her chart. I want to see her astrological chart. Because I wanted to do a comparison to see what it came out with. And the comparison looked pretty decent. There were certain sticking points that I wasn't sure how they were going to be expressed. But I was like, all right, let's try it. And her and I were talking, and we go on a first date, and it lasts like 14 hours. Like, no bullshit. Like, it goes on for fucking ever. And it's like,
that didn't sound good.
I take her, no, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean in a good way. I don't think you can have a horrible 14-hour date. And I take her back home that morning, and we end up going to McDonald's at like 7 in the morning, because at that point we had been up all night. First date.
What? That's a fucking lie.
No,
Don't
that's not
my
true.
name like that.
No, that's not true.
I'm suing you for
14
that.
hours. But the date goes 14 hours, and I take her that morning, and one of us calls the other. Now she says he's nice, but he's flaming. She thought it was gay.
Wait. I'd love to hear your story about this. I love when you tell stories. They be so wrong.
They're not wrong. That's exactly what happened.
No, I mean, they're not wrong. It's like you dramatize some stuff, which is good.
It's dramatized. It goes 14 hours. She says, I like him a lot.
It went for 14
but
hours.
I think he's flaming. So there was that. One of us texts the other one. Like even immediately after. And, it's just kind of, from that point on, we started to get, meet up. So, in one of the other parts, she thinks I'm gay, and I throw her up against the wall, and I give her this kind of really kiss in front of the...
this is why you can't really tell the story, because that's what I'm saying, you tell false...
Well, that was the point where you were like, okay, he's not gay.
It was like a couple of dates in. But in our first date, we met on online, and people are asking, do dating apps really work? I guess
in our case, they did, yeah.
Maybe not for everybody.
I mean, they gave this relationship compatibility thing.
It was painful. It was like...
Yeah, but it was long.
It took me like an hour to do it. And he was actually the only person that I met from online from this dating app.
Oh, really?
And I only did it because it was like a free subscription. Like, I had done other online apps, but it was like... That was a fail. Everybody was like looking for sex and everything else.
My thing was, I got to the point where I just said, fuck it. you know, regardless what comes. If the person doesn't accept me, they don't accept me. If they do, great. And I did it with the perspective of whatever happens, it doesn't matter. Because at that point, it was impervious to, you know, it's like when the person was like, I think you might die. Oh, okay, well, you have a good life, and I'll go to the next person.
So, like somebody said, even your dates are long-winded. I thought that was funny.
My dates are long-winded.
So our 14-hour date, we met like at this coffee shop at like 6 o'clock. That's how I know it was 14 hours. We met there at like 6 o'clock, and we were there till they closed. Then we went to like this all-night diner, and we stayed there, and then we ended up. It wasn't Carytown. It was Third Street Diner.
But it was Third Street Diner on Curry Street. But that's on Curry Street.
It's not Carytown. But
it wasn't. It's not Carytown. But the thing
is this.
Good. My bad. Go ahead. I mean, I told the story. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, then
if there's something you need to add to this story,
that's fine.
What you add to it?
We're good. I'm reading the comments, so that's what I'm. People are like they thought you were gay too.
Some other people have said that.
Let me just tell you.
Dude at work said the same thing. I don't quite know why people think that. Now, until I saw myself on video. When I first started looking at myself on video, I was like, okay, fair enough.
I will say,
fair enough.
When we first met, I remember my girlfriend. You know, when you're a girl and you go out online, or you're a woman and you go out with somebody online, you get home and they're like, how was it? And I was like, oh, he's very nice. He's really handsome, but I'm pretty sure he's gay. And she was like, what? And I was like, he said his profile said he was into women, but I think he might be gay. And so he went out a couple times. But I will say that he's raised by his mama. She was a big influence on him. I think that's where a lot of his mannerisms come. Like after hanging out with the two of them, you know, when you do the physical, I don't know, your mannerisms. I don't know. I guess that's what it is.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm always weird. Like if I come on, like if we're doing a show and somebody asks this conversation, do you keep going?
Why not? It's a patron appreciation show.
It's because it's patron appreciation. We can do it.
Pretty much. And I got to be honest, even on regular shows, sometimes the conversation is devolved into all sorts of stuff. All right, so I want to do Trudy's thing before we go too far into it. All right.
Before we go too far.
I know, right? All right, so this is... Let me see. Let's see if I can cue this up.
All right, John Hill said this is hilarious. He also said read Streamlabs again. I don't know if
hold on, I checked. I didn't see I have it up. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Oh, people left. See, we were at like 212. Now we're at 198. People like, I don't want to hear these.
Ooh, I don't want that one in.
Marital squabbles.
All right, so let's go to Trudy's one. I'm gonna switch this out. There we are.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right. Janeway. Let's go with Janeway.
Oh, wait. Really funny. Something that I thought about when we were dating.
Go for it.
So, the dating app that we're on, they sent a, you know, like, first of all, I want to be on the commercial. Like, you know how on the dating apps, like eHarmony and Match.com, they have, like, the success stories. Like, I think they should get us on the success story. But they sent us, like, our first chats back and forth. I think they're hilarious because, like, Jamal's, like, this long, you know, thoughtful, well-articulated message. And I'm like, all right, when we meeting? When I looked at them, I was like, yeah, this is great. All right, here's my number. Give me a call. And we'll get the date started. It's just funny to look back on them, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it went well. I mean, we just lucked out.
Somebody asked, what's the bogus national emergency? You missed that segment. I think that was Trudy who said that. That was about Trump declaring a
bogus
state of
national
emergency.
Yeah. All right, so let's do this one. Let's go to this one because I thought this one was funny. This is Trudy's.
Trudy.
Janeway versus Picard.
This was a patron suggestion.
Now, I would have preferred to do this slightly differently. I would have wanted to use Worf, but I'll use the suggestion that she gave. In fact,
wait, where's Janeway?
I don't have Janeway. I don't have Janeway. The reason I wanted to use Worf, because I know Trudy likes Worf. There was an episode that my wife and I were watching where it was like a coming of age thing, and Worf, I think it's an awesome, I guess you could say, exploration of the individual versus who that individual is within the context of his society, especially when you're talking about alien cultures and it's a human view of the world on somebody who's not human, if that makes sense. Because Worf he might have been raised by humans, but he was not human, and in this kind of odd way of a kid who's like mixed being uber black because they feel like they're deficient in it in some way. Worf is kind of also an exploration of that, or a kid who's raised by white parents becoming like whatever his idea of what blackness is, he takes it to like a 20th degree, that type of odd stuff. Worf is kind of like that, where he's the epitome of what it means to be a Klingon, but only in his head because it's his perspective of what it means to be a Klingon. And it's from somebody who wasn't raised as a Klingon, so they're seeing the Klingon from in an odd way, from an outside perspective of what it means. It's a fascinating thing. Whoopi Goldberg at one point was like, she says, Klingons laugh. She says, I've heard some Klingons with Hardy Betty laugh.
I saw that episode.
Yeah. It's like his idea of what it meant to be a Klingon is just his idea of what it means to be a Klingon. People are like that. Like I've seen people say, well, black folks don't do that. Black folks don't do what? What does that even mean? It's like we went scuba what was it, whitewater rafting, and someone's like, black folks don't do that.
How many things have we done where people were like, do black people do that?
Right. And it's like, but what does that mean? It's like they have this image in their head of, like there's a consensus of black, and that consensus of black has certain things that it decides that it does and doesn't do. It's so bizarre. People are people. People are who they are. I understand that people look for things outside of themselves to kind of give themselves some validation. So I haven't seen a person do X that looked like this, and so I just assume that those people don't do those things. They become somewhat odd. So it's like being in somebody else's house. Have you ever been in somebody else's house that you don't know?
Yes.
Yeah. It feels different than being in your own. It's almost like the thing in your head lights up of something that's yours as opposed to somebody else's. All right, so the thing I want to talk about is Janeway versus Picard. Now,
in what sense? Like a fist fight?
No, and getting people back from the Delta Quadrant. Does that make sense? Like, so if Picard was in Janeway's situation, would Picard have been able to get his crew back home? I say no. I say even though Picard is one of the most effective captains in Star Trek, in the history of Star Trek, just because you're effective in one sense doesn't necessarily mean you're effective in all senses. Like, it's not an absolute. Who you are has to be water in a glass, not necessarily, and one skill set is not necessarily the skill set that's applicable in all situations. I've made the argument that Janeway was the best captain to get those people back, as opposed to Picard. And my reasoning was that Picard was too much of a stickler for the rules in this case. Janeway was more flexible, and there was an element of womanness that made that work. Meaning, Picard, in no situation, can be the crew's mom. Janeway, however, can.
Sounds kind of sexist, but I okay.
It's not sexist. It's an acknowledgement that even though we may be equal as human beings, like from the standpoint of like your will, your consciousness, in this particular body should have all the rights and responsibilities that I have. You're a person. And I find you to be equal to my own, which is why I had issues with taking the name and the marriage and all that stuff. Equal to my own. But that doesn't necessarily mean that equality in essence means an equality of experience. As an African American, as a man, as a whatever, you're going to have somewhat of a different experience than somebody who's not. So there's a quality of her, you can call it cultural upbringing of womanness, mom and wife and that type of stuff, and daughter, that has a softness that can be attributed that Picard can't muster. If that makes sense.
Okay, Hitflix says, no, Janeway was a stickler at first. She changed over time, and so would Picard.
Janeway changed within the first 2 or 3 episodes when she allowed the crew of the Marquis to join up. And I guess I'm saying this. she did mellow over time. And she mellowed to the point where when she gets to be older, oh God, I gotta be honest, I had a little crush on her as older.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
It's...
Just saying. When we have that list where it's like that one person that you get a free pass on, and you had like what's his name? Wolverine? I can't think of his name. Hugh Jackman was on yours. Well,
you like the old Captain Janeway?
The old Captain Janeway is on my list.
Get it list.
She can get it.
Oh, all right. Well,
because when she got older, she became cynical, and not just cynical, but determined. She literally went back in time in order to change time itself so members of her crew can make it back. Now, this is a person who initially started off as stickler for the rules and got to the point of saying, fuck time, I'm bringing my crew back home. She was epic and awesome. And
so Picard wouldn't have been able to do that?
Picard would have never done that. Picard would have never done that. There is no situation where Picard would have broken time itself in order to get members of the crew. Picard would have accepted that those members would have died, and he would have said, this is just the natural course of life. Just saying. And Picard became cynical and enfeebled when he got older with some kind of mental degenerative illness, so he wouldn't have been able to do it anyway.
Trudy said Janeway let the crew run her.
She did not.
Lauren said Picard would have lost over half his crew, leaving for other planets to not deal with his moods.
She did not let the crew... She didn't let the crew run her. This is kind of my point. They were stranded in another part of the galaxy by themselves where the only thing they had was that ship. And her responsibilities as a captain had to supersede just her being a captain. They were a family to some degree. They weren't just a crew anymore. This idea of her being a crew, that broke down. There was no Federation. It was just Janeway and that ship. And to some degree, she had to be, she had to be flexible. She had to be caring in her support. Now, there are things I disagree with her on. The doctor, when the doctor decided he wanted to sing opera as opposed to being a doctor, I would have retooled his ass in a heartbeat. So would I strongly suspect Captain Picard would have given him an order and retooled his program to make him a doctor. But Janeway looked at it as a moral code. You know, he has some level of self-determination. We want to back him up in that self-determination. And she sat there and cried when he was singing the opera, when she knew that he had broken, his heart was broken. In that episode, the doctor says, like, he throws a pissy match with the captain. And he's like, I'm leaving, I'm going to sing opera, she loves me, I'm going to marry on a planet. Like, he fell in love with this woman. And he gets to the planet, and he found that this woman had essentially built another doctor that could sing better than the doctor could. And the doctor's like, my voice can't do that. And then he's like talking about erasing some stuff to add new subroutines because he was trying to get her to love him. And when the doctor realized that, God, she doesn't like me at all. She just likes what I can do from singing. And she just built another doctor. He gives his last performance. And in this last performance, it's this heartbreaking opera of loss and regret and pain. And he's giving this pain song, and Captain Janeway sits and watches, understanding what takes place. And a single tear falls from her eye as she watches. And it's over with, and she's wipes her face, and she's kind of, he was hurt. He was hurt. He was brutally pained over that. And when the doctor had to come back and eat crow, and she's like, you want to come back on the ship now, huh? Like, you know, she's not inflexible, and she had to take a certain tack in order to get back to where she went. And yeah, I think her being a woman adds a certain quality of softness that a man can't replicate, and there are times where she needs to be more soft and more of a hard ass. That's what I think. It's like cops. They usually let female cops deal with kids. Why? Why are you letting a female cop deal with a kid? Because it's
softer.
It's softer. Even military guys would tell you that, yes, that woman may not be able to cross the barricade, but when you're talking about diffusing a situation where men tend to get into a fight, women tend to be better. There are certain traits that women have that lend themselves to, you know, the better situations. That's all. I think in that situation, Janeway was the person.
John Hill said...
I could be wrong.
John Hill said, so we're going to have a Star Trek chat, but no crypto? He wants to talk about cryptocurrency?
I don't believe in cryptocurrency. I don't think the federal... Look, I understand that people have this cryptocurrency thing. The government of the United States is not going to give up power of the purse. Meaning, it's going to be dollars. And there may be certain things where people use kind of around the edges, but I'm skeptical of it.
LW
And
says,
besides, we've had a cryptocurrency check before.
LW says, was Star Trek the best example of a popular future socialist society? Was it even a socialist society?
God, that's an interesting question, right? Like, because it goes beyond a socialist society. Like, if you need a pair of shoes, what's better? To just have a system that can just make those shoes any way you want them? Same color, same texture, fit your feet perfectly.
It's about filling the need.
It's about filling the need. It's not about the dollars or the jobs. In their society, much of that stuff has been automated, so you don't need people to work in the capacity of working. You have machines and technology that does most of that stuff. So you have a more evolved society in this, but it's using technology to fulfill human need, not using technology to make somebody rich. Socialist society, no, because socialism was always just the gateway between the two. It wasn't a thing unto itself. It wasn't a stop. It was a transition period. The communist system itself, maybe, it depends on how Earth is run. But understand this was choice. This was the people in the society evolving and growing up saying, we don't need 10 companies to make Nikes. You know, it's like we have a pair of shoes and the goal is to have something to fulfill a need, not something to make a profit. So you don't have like trademarks and labels and all the other stuff. This stuff is open for everybody to be able to use. You can say maybe a communistic society, but I don't even know if that works. Like Star Trek, it's the closest thing that we can think of, I guess, and from the standpoint of, and it's not even a communist society because there is government. Like in communism, there was supposed to be a dissolution of the government when the breakdown of the classes. The idea being that the government is there because there are class conflicts, that the government needs to be there in order to manage those class conflicts, otherwise you would just have open war. That once those conflicts are removed, that the purpose and the necessity of the government kind of melts away. Well, Star Trek has a government. It has a central government. The world is united in this case. You have a one world government. And you have a federation that deals with these things of off-planet affairs. But there's an alien that's in charge of the government of the Earth. So, like, I don't know if it works in a sense. I don't know. I think Star Trek might be something else.
A little different.
Yeah. Post-scarcity. That's it. Bunya bro. Post-scarcity. I don't know. Picard is one of my favorite captains, so don't misunderstand me. But does he have the ability to change to such a degree, ignoring all of the regulations and everything else that he's dedicated himself to, and be something fundamentally different that's necessary to get his crew back home? And understand, Janeway got her crew back home when she went back in time to break time itself. They made it back the first time around, but she lost a lot of members of her crew, including people who she was very close to. Would Picard have made it back at all? I don't know, maybe. Would he have done something like that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, I could be wrong.
Garden Gnome says if he had to go to war, he'd rather have Cisco in the chair than any other captain. That's someone just said that's because Cisco's violent.
Cisco's badass, man.
Was he violent?
He wasn't violent. He was just willing to. He had to win a war. It's a war. You do bad things in wars. Like for example, Cisco. Yeah, Garden, I agree with you. Cisco. Because Picard is more of a stickler for the rules. It's almost like I think Picard would lose a war as opposed to breaking his vows as Federation. This is one of those things of Bob Mercer. It's like the work of a man, which is essentially doing something that flagrantly violates the rules and all notions of ethics. But is it more ethical to lose a war? Let's be very clear what we're talking about here. Like Cisco assisted in the bombing of a ship to blame the Dominion in order to get the Romulans into the war, because the Federation was going to lose the war if Romulans didn't get into the war, and the Romulans weren't going to get into the war. And so he put a disc on the ship to make it look like the Romulans were going to be attacked, and then had the ship blown up or work allowed the ship to be blown up, so any impurities in the disc would just be attributed to the blow up. And when they look at the disc, it would show that the Dominion was talking about attacking the Dominion. The Romulans were going to be attacked. So Romulans got into the war. So all of the Federation powers, with the exception of the Cardassians, were united in the war efforts against the Romulans, and it was the only chance the Federation had of winning that war. Otherwise, they were going to lose. He even got help from the Dominion, from wormhole aliens, in order to stop the Dominions from bringing their ships over again. Otherwise, they would have lost. Sisko was willing to do unethical stuff in order to win the war because it's a war. It's a war. What is more ethical? Like, is it more ethical to stand by your own rule set and lose a war where billions of people are going to die, or besmirch your character as a Starfleet officer and do the task that
needs to be done? Okay, I have to read the super chat.
Go for it.
John Hill, back to crypto, says JP Morgan issued their own crypto this week, but you don't believe in it. You interviewed a noob who didn't know what he was talking about.
So I would have to interview somebody who would know a little bit more about it. John Hill, I would do this. This is what I would do, John Hill. I will find somebody who knows more about crypto than I do. Because I could be wrong on crypto. I could be talking clearly and entirely out of my ass. And if I am doing so, I apologize. What I would do is this. I would find somebody who knows more about crypto than I do, and I would bring those people on for an interview. I do that.
Kevin Martinez says, unless I can turn all the extra gold, buck, gems, crystals, haystacks from all the little game apps on the phone for cash money, then I can buy a house or land in real life. Cryptocurrencies ain't it. Someone else says, Jamarl is on point. We need to move beyond money markets, not make it crypto. And Robert says, wouldn't Chase's crypto just be backed by the dollars?
It would be. Because it's like you're converting it into something, right? I mean, you can use the crypto itself, but crypto is not legal currency. It's not, you can't tender it.
Yeah, Ophidian says greenbacks are JP Morgan's crypto. Dark Roast Lefty said Andrew Yang can speak about cryptocurrencies.
Andrew Yang is one of the candidates. He's running in the race. He's trying to give slap back from me. I dropped my ink pen.
What are we doing? What's happening?
I dropped my ink pen. Andrew Yang is trying to give a UBI, universal basic income, everybody $1,000.
$1,000?
Yeah, I back that.
Fred Edwards said, the microphone is in the wrong position to talk out your ass, Jamarl.
Fred Edwards came up with the thing of where have all the haberdashers gone. Mm-hmm. I love that. That needs to be on that shirt. My only thing with the t-shirts is it would need to be like, where have all the haberdashers gone? Then another part of progressive soapbox.
No, I don't feel like you need to put progressive soapbox on everything.
Otherwise, nobody knows what it is.
That's kind of the point.
It's not the point. The point is for people to see the show. It's an advertisement.
Okay, so what do you guys think? If you're making a t-shirt, or if you're making a t-shirt with a quote from the show, like how Jamarl says, I'm going to end this here, or like Fred likes to say, where have all the haberdashers gone?
I like that one.
Do you put the quote on the shirt and then put the progressive soapbox with Jamarl Thomas? Or do you just put the quote on the shirt and then people are like, what is that about? Because I've been in places where people had a random quote and people walked up to them and were like, what is that all about?
I know, but from a percentage standpoint, a larger number of people are just going to look at the shirt. There's a smaller number of people who have the balls to actually go up to somebody and say, what is that about? From just probabilities.
Lauren says, put the logo. Dark Roast Lefty says, progressive soapbox in a smaller font.
Yeah.
Wesley says both.
Yeah.
2 times said people would just Google out of interest. Put progressive soapbox on the back.
That's one thought.
Okay, fine. Put it on the shirt.
Because people need to know.
Where have all the haberdashers gone? And yes, the progressive
soapbox. Put progressive
soapbox
soapbox on the back. Wesley Walker. Yeah,
I think that's a tiny logo or none at all.
Discovery, Forsaken,
Put the logo in the YouTube address. Smaller font. Just the quote. Leave them guessing. Jim.
Orville isn't on Netflix. Orville is on Netflix. That's where I saw it.
Orville was pretty good.
Orville wasn't bad.
Brent McKinney says, I donated $1 to Andrew Yang and $5 to Tulsi Gabbard. Many know they need at least 65,000 individual donors to get on the debate stage.
Tulsi should get it. I think she'll be able to get on the debate stage. Yeah, I think she might be able to get on the debate stage. but yeah, I think I'm going to do that. There are two things.
Do what?
Three things. Part of the reason for the patron appreciation push is also because I want to expand the channel. I want to get a website. I want that website to be available so people who contribute through other things other than Patreon will be able to essentially still get access to the content. Because right now there's somewhat of a logistics problem. How do you get access to the content if all of that stuff is governed through Patreon? That's the system where everybody's donating. And have a singular place for people to be able to go and get that content when they do contribute. That's the first point. The second point is Lisbon. I've been looking at that again in regards to how to put for the podcast. The thing is, any show that I do, I'm incentivized to do the show because the show allows for revenue to keep the show going. Doing Lisbon, it takes a learning curve, which means that the time that it takes me to be learning that, I could be doing a show, which it's that type of stuff. It's kind of financial part. And the t-shirt thing, I want to really get those back up. But the t-shirts, there's so much. They're so expensive. Like the t-shirts, they're massively expensive. Like I think that shirt was.
And there's no way to bring their cost down, so it's not like you have control and you're like, I
Right.
really only want the shirt to be $10.
Right.
No, they have a base price. I
Right.
mean, even if you say I'm not getting any profit whatsoever,
It's still like
the
a base
shirts
price.
are still like $15.
Yeah, it's like so you.
Has
get like
anybody
$1.
ever gotten a shirt for Progressive Soapbox?
Yeah, Wesley got like one or two.
Okay, I didn't know if anybody else was going to comment and say they bought a shirt from the shirt store.
Let's see. What do you think about the Janeway thing? You've watched a little bit of Voyager.
I
I've
don't
forced
like
you to watch
Janeway.
Voyager. But see, I think this is just women attacking women, being catty. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Women being catty,
Maybe.
a little jealous.
Of what? That you want to bang the old Janeway? Or that you would. John Hill said shirts aren't progressive. Well, what's progressive, John Hill? Why am I looking at
I
Janeway
think you're a
again?
little jealous of her.
Am I jealous of Janeway? I mean, I don't think so.
So why don't you like her? What's? Give me your reasoning for not liking Janeway.
Okay, first of all, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this out here. I can get whatever kind of criticism, hate. I'm not a big Star Trek fan.
I could slap you right now. I just don't want the audience to see it and they would flip out.
I'm not a big Star Trek fan. I mean, that's why it's kind of like,
My audience, they would be like,
I liked Picard, but that was because I think it's because like his accent.
British accent. He's supposed to be French on the show, but he has a British accent.
I liked Picard. I don't know. I'm just
But that's not really answering the question. Even if you don't necessarily like Janeway or like Star Trek, you at the very least have watched the show in both cases, and you can talk about the point that's being made, whether or not Janeway or Picard. I don't think Picard would have made it back, or Picard might have made it back, but Picard would have. I don't think he would have been flexible enough.
Now, I do agree that he's a lot more rigid.
Okay.
But I haven't seen a lot of Janeway to really have an opinion on this one.
Then how do you not like her?
I mean, I could just look at somebody walking down the street and say, I don't like her. I don't like him. Something
sexist.
about that person makes me not want to have more
I think it's because
to
she's a
deal
woman
with
captain.
them. I mean, maybe. Somebody said this show is not for black people. Black people don't watch Star Trek. I saw somebody else put that up there when you were talking about black people and what black people do.
Even a black captain. Cisco, but black people don't watch Star Trek. Dang, JT, finish reading my email, please. Okay, let me read.
Trudy.
Email.
Finish reading my email.
Let's.
Also, check and see if there's a Streamlabs. Somebody said keep the chat going. Do you guys like when we just chit chat? Or not we. Do you guys like when he just chit chats?
Oh, there are a few of these. All right.
No, there's only 2. That's today. You read the first one. We're only missing one.
Get mad. Yep. Merlin Williamson is the only candidate I'm looking at. I like her. She's for reparations. Bernie isn't. He won't get the black vote in the South again because of that, and won't win the Democratic nomination. You still haven't looked up the ADOS movement. Here's the thing.
Wait, who's Marianne Williamson?
That's the spiritual advisor.
Oh, the one I was like, who?
I hate to tell you this, but Marianne Williamson is not going to get the black vote either, of the South. And even though I like her platform as a candidate, I don't think she's going to go anywhere with that candidacy. As for Sanders getting the black vote in the South, I don't know that. I mean, I don't. I mean, Kamala Harris is not going to automatically get the black vote, nor is Cory Booker. So
isn't Virginia the South?
Virginia is the South.
He getting my vote.
He getting my vote too.
He getting my black vote.
Hold on, Trudy. Give me 1 second.
People say they do, like, the chit chat is good.
Where's Trudy's? Let's see.
So is anybody not a patron?
Because I saw Trudy. Oh, God, there's going to be a lot of people.
Who's not a patron?
Why are you asking them up?
Jim Garrison said, beam me up, JT.
You're trying to out... You're trying to out people on the channel.
Okay, maybe that's not a good question.
Which
Don't
one of
answer
you are
that.
not a patron?
Who's not a patron? Be a patron now.
All right. I'm trying to find Trudy's...
Trudy, where... Oh, well, I know where you emailed it to. There we go. We're trying to find the... Brent McKinney said, Rock Lee suggests you do a story on George Gage and Kamala Harris.
Trudy, I read this. I don't know how this email informs what I just said. Janeway has a crisis of confidence. Janeway sits with him for days reading a book. Picard, Data has a crisis of confidence. Picard says, get to work. Picard could have handled the Delta Quadrant better than Janeway. Yeah, she thinks Picard would have won. I don't think so.
Oh.
That's my point. I'm disagreeing. But you're using that very specific case. So in that very specific case, Picard has a crisis of... Oh, it wasn't Data. Was it Data? And Picard sat with him. I remember one of them where... it was the Doctor. The Doctor was having this kind of... Let me read this email again. I know the shows that you're talking about, but I think I may be conflating them in my head.
The demographics of Star Trek. People are like, I'm black. I watch Star Trek.
Yeah, of course.
More chit chat, please. Dark Rose Lefty says, yeah, Dark Rose Lefty, that was a bad question. Jamal's right. I shouldn't ask if you're a patron. I don't know.
Janeway, all right, Doctor has a crisis of confidence. Right. Janeway sits with him for days reading a book. Now, that's true. But come on, Trudy. That's a horrible way to categorize it. And it wasn't a crisis of confidence. He was having a programmatic issue. Like, he had to make a choice on which person to save. And his programming made the choice. But then he had this thing of, why did I choose one over the other? Like, how do you make these ethical decisions of choosing one over the other? And he ended up with this kind of logic gap that he couldn't necessarily rectify. And the Doctor knew he had a gap, but he couldn't figure out why he had a gap. Well, they had erased some of his files, so he didn't necessarily know what was taking place, and he started investigating and found what was going on. Janeway tried to allow his programming to integrate the experience itself. So her thing was, we're going to sit with him just like he was a regular person, if that person had some kind of PTSD, to make sure to get him back up to snuff. To characterize it as if he has a crisis of confidence, that's low. That's messed up, Trudy. You're making diminutive this kind of horrific experience that he had with people dying and death. Janeway reading the book, fair enough. Picard, Data has a crisis of confidence. Picard says, get to work. But Data wasn't having a crisis of confidence in this way. Data was having a crisis of confidence. But the catch of it is, it was just a crisis of confidence for Data. Like, I'm trying to make a difference in those things. The Doctor loses someone and has to make an ethical choice on how do you choose one life over another life. Data loses a game of chess, or it's not chess, but it's a game similar to chess, and starts to reevaluate whether or not his own decisions. Picard tells him to get to work because Data wasn't having this existential crisis of self. The Doctor, however, was. Not to mention, the Doctor is a hologram. The Data is maybe more sophisticated. I understand both of them are programming. I don't necessarily think that in and of itself is enough to say that she could have handled it. And by the way, the Picard telling the Doctor, get over it and go to work would not have in any way fixed the Doctor. And this is kind of getting to my point. Picard would have needed to sit with him in order to get the Doctor rectified. He could have taken out some of the files. He could have neutered the Doctor to make the Doctor into a toaster and just have the Doctor doing the task. But Janeway didn't do that. Janeway looked at the Doctor as somewhat of a person and treated him as such, even though there were times where, she was, let's say, motivated not to do such a thing. I guess this is the thing that makes me like Janeway, if that sense. She was empathetic enough, and dare I say, woman enough to let the doctor work out his issues. That's not a negative. And, you know, these sexist women out here, these self-hating women who don't like these type of qualities of this kind of emotionality, and not in a bad way, not in this kind of hysterical way, but purely in this way of, I'm going to let this person integrate this experience. When we're talking about our own society for the moment, you can be a Republican and say, you know, justice, law and order, and we're just going to put people in prison. Or you can also try to empathize and figure out why are people behaving in the way that they're behaving and try to come up with political solutions that don't involve just being a hard ass. Right here. Political solution that didn't involve her just being a hard ass. She was trying to actually deal with it based on the ethics of her time period. I don't think she was wrong in this. Do you know the episode I'm talking about?
Nope. I'm gonna let you have this Star Trek moment because I'm
all right.
I'm not well versed enough to really.
I would say this. I don't think this one moment though is indicative of the entirety of experience on or being. Janeway had 7 Garden 7 seasons. Yeah, there was 7 seasons. Garden without Data, Picard might have been a fairly average captain. Yes, that too. By the way, like, because Data was fucking amazing. The capabilities.
Yeah, I think Garden said too. He wouldn't have made it without Data.
Yeah, he wouldn't have made it without Data. The capabilities of Data was amazing.
Data.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, Data. It's almost like if you're playing chess and you have a computer to back you up in your move. I think I'm going to move it this way, and the Data's like, wait. It may not be a good move because of this, and this. It's like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, agreed. Let's see. Without an artificial intelligence, Picard would have just axed the ship. I don't know if the ship would have been that. Data was more complicated than the ship. Like, Data was more
well, I think
sophisticated
that's what
than
he's
the
saying
ship.
is that if
like he wouldn't have been
there.
Yeah, but the ship wasn't as sophisticated. Like, Data was an autonomous program that had actions and motives and drives and attachments. The emotional part wasn't there, but that was a choice that they chose not to add that into his programming. But the other stuff was. And so he had this kind of childlike look at the world. The computer couldn't do that, meaning the computer had basic level of artificial intelligence. Don't get me wrong, they can answer questions, but not the same as Data. Yeah. Data was better than ship AI, yeah. I haven't seen any of the new Star Trek show. I've heard it isn't the old Star Trek. No, it's not. Yeah, Winkle. It's it's been changed. Why are you putting that on your breast?
That's not my boob. My boob is all the way down here. My boob is down there.
Don't do that to him.
He wasn't on my boob.
Don't do that to them. Like,
go on.
Molesting my Star Trek characters. I even got Wesley Walker.
Why are they under here? Like, hidden, out of sight.
Well, I didn't have it put them up yet.
He's still in the box, like,
I haven't even taken them out of the box.
One of those people who, like, keep collectibles and stuff.
Well, I had all my other ones were in boxes, and then when we were trying to find space, I took them out the boxes. If this collects any value at all, then it has to be in the box to collect the value. But I need to get Spock. Yeah, I need to get Spock. I was looking for a Bernie Sanders one of these also. So
those
I will be getting
like $9,000.
I will be getting a Bernie Sanders one also. So yeah, there's that. Cryptic Warrior. I haven't watched the new Star Trek. It's different. So in the old Star Trek, one of the most warming aspects of Star Trek, of all the sci-fi, of all the ships, all the technology and everything else, were the relationships between the captain and the first officer. Spock and Kirk. A friendship, like an epic friendship that lasts through the ages. This kind of immortal friendship between the two. I will and have always been your friend, as he dies. Like, epic. I defy you not to weep and cry on that episode of Star Trek where Spock is dying after saving the ship and he's put his fingers on the thing and he's like... and all his Vulcan, he's trying to hold back the pain. as he dies from radiation exposure, and Captain Kirk gets there just in time to see his friend die. Breaks him as a man. As a man. As a captain. It's a fucking amazing episode. Now, those were the most heartwarming episodes.
Wesley Walker said you should have Spock. I sent him with Kirk.
I never got Spock.
We never got Spock.
Spock never came.
What?
Motherfucker. Are you shitting me? You said Spock?
That's a little...
That's infuriating. Is there... Did he send Spock?
I only got one. Because remember, he sent it and I had to kind of like keep the secret.
Yeah,
I only got Kirk.
I thought it was only Kirk. It was in the same box.
I mean, are we
I'm
both
missing
losing our minds?
Wes, I'll take a look. Maybe I'm wrong on this.
He said it was in the same box. Ow, dude.
Oh, wait.
Womp womp. See what happens when you like hide them out of the way?
Been shitty looker.
Oh my goodness.
Been a shitty looker.
We lied.
All right, fair enough. I was
a liar.
I was gonna feel some kind of way if you know.
He's like, now I gotta get Spock, and I'm like, yeah, I don't remember seeing Spock in there.
He even has a ray gun. I used to have this T-shirt.
Spock
Star
has
Trek.
on eyeshadow.
I used to have this T-shirt that
Did he
says
wear eyeshadow?
"Real men don't set to stun." Real men murder. Yeah, Spock was Yeah, but I guess my point is this: in the entirety of the Star Trek ethos, this heartwarming relationship between the ship captains. So Janeway and Chakotay, like that in and of itself became this amazing relationship. Kirk and Spock, again, amazing relationship. T'Pol and Captain Archer, which after the first season, not so much, but as the episodes went on, the relationship between them two became far more intense. Cisco, not so much. Cisco was a little different in that. Cisco broke trend. I mean, you could say what's her name from Bayshore, but that's a little different. And he was on a space station.
Someone's talking about the new Star Trek. I said I couldn't get into it. Garden Gnome says, yeah, Discovery is basically about one character.
Yeah,
that's kind of how
it's
I
a little weird.
I couldn't really get into Discovery.
Also,
I liked the Orville.
Also, it's cynical. Like the captain in that one, it says instead of having, it also breaks that trend. The main character attacks the captain within the first episode. Like, it's shocking. Like, I defy anybody who's a real Star Trek fan and who's watched Star Trek for God knows how long, and you're watching Discovery and she attacks the captain of that ship, somebody who's she's supposed to be close to, within the first episode, if I'm not mistaken, within the first commercial break. I fell off the bed. No, I did. I fell off the bed. I couldn't. It shocked the conscience. I didn't know what. I fell off the bed. The only reaction I could have was to fall off the bed. It's fucking amazing to do. That's fucking amazing. I mean, she attacked her captain. Like, there's supposed to be this amazing relationship between captains, and she attacks the captain and starts a war. And so, as opposed to the regular episodes of Star Trek where you had all of this show that was a show that ended up in a war, but that was because of things outside of the context of the show. This starts off with a war. You know what I mean? Like, the entire premise of the show is this kind of juiced up conflict. I don't know. Discovery is not. It's not the same.
It wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not the same. Trudy, I hated Spock's dad. He was a prick. But you saw Spock's dad through the context of Spock.
Right, Lorem said you're supposed to hate Spock's dad. He's the ultimate authority figure.
Yeah.
Hate. Ooh, okay.
Well, also, he's... You know, it's wild about it, though. In Next Generation, you got to get a window into Spock's dad. It was a fucking phenomenal thing. Like Sarek. Because when Sarek became ill, and Sarek had to give his emotions over to Picard in order for him to maintain his emotional, this thing as a Vulcan, all of that stuff came up about Spock. And he was like this weeping mess of a man where he was regrets and all this other stuff. It was fascinating. But also, you're seeing it through the context of Spock. Spock is half human. And so Spock has emotions. Even Vulcans have emotions, but his emotions are far closer to the surface, especially working on a ship like that and being with Kirk. He's a Vulcan, but he's a Vulcan light. You know what I mean? He's a Vulcan in the same way that Sanders is a socialist. It's like, yes, he's kind of, but he's been working with humans so long that there are aspects of him that just give themselves over to the humanity. Even though human beings will see him as purely as Vulcan, other Vulcans will see him as having his emotions closer to the surface. Same thing happened with T'Pol. When T'Pol was on the ship for a period of time, and you look at T'Pol, he's like, God, she's an asshole. And then she's dealing with other Vulcans, and they're like, you've been serving on the ship for too long. Mm-hmm. Like, she would have a biting sense of humor. That wouldn't be a sense of humor because it would be her being a dick, but it's her being sarcastic. And people will look at her, other Vulcans are like, is that a joke? Did you just try to make a joke? You've been on the ship too long, Missy. This show is awesome, man. Fucking love this franchise. Data and Spark are appeals to pure logic. Yes-ish. I mean, that's true, but they're also... Star Trek is not that simple. Like, Data and Spock are also showing you how pure logic goes astray. Like, when Data doesn't necessarily understand basic things, and he has to ask Picard, why is this the way this is? Missing these aspects of humanness that don't necessarily apply to logic. Meaning the world is not this fixed thing. Oftentimes, there are numbers that govern us, don't get me wrong, in this kind of raw scientific way, but many of those things are still based on probabilities. Data asking these questions, I'm trying to think of one of the questions that Data would ask and Picard would have to explain to him. Or Data giving an example and saying, 3 days, 2 months, blah, 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 blah. Picard would have to say, oh, thank you, Data. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't need it to the 10th decimal point. I just need it to this number. Picard always has to tell Data to shut the fuck up. Data never gets it, and he never understands why Picard tells him to shut the fuck up. Now, Picard understands it because Picard only needs it to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. Like, there's this thing of pure logic that to some degree it makes fun of it, by the same token it deifies it. It's fascinating. Like, I'll give you another one. Captain Kirk. When Captain Kirk was fighting those robots and he gave them a logic error, he says, everything I'm telling you is true, but he says everything I'm telling you is a lie, and right now I'm telling you the truth. And it's like, but if you're telling us a lie and this is the truth, and their logic circuits fucked up. Or how do you say it? Everything that I tell you is a lie, and right now I'm lying to you. Which means I'm telling you the truth. Which means I'm lying to you. Which means I'm telling you the truth, which means I'm lying to you. And the machines blew a gasket. Now, you can say that was a joke on pure logic, because logic didn't necessarily work at that point, when they're, from this logic standpoint, are supposed to be these perfect beings. Star Trek is not that simple. It doesn't give you that way out that easy. Data is complex as he begins to discover his emotions. Yes. Yeah. Sarek has a sense of humor, but a dry one. Yeah. Vulcans, when they have a sense of humor, it tends to be dry. I saw some of the later Spock-related episodes. They were awful. It's a cheap attempt to pander to his fans. Yes, that's true. And the J.J. Abrams, where they bring Spock back, and they just have him there for like a few moments. It's just them trying to make a gateway between the two shows. It's pander. It is pander. LW. The outsider deconstructing what makes a human. He's an anthropologist, I suppose. To some degree, all alien species are an exploration of what it means to be human. It's one thing for you to show a human being in a situation, you're looking at that person from a third-party perspective, but you're looking at that individual as an individual. Even though from a larger context, yes, that's human, but there's all sorts of things of what it means to be human. There are, 7 billion people. Each one of those things is indicative of what it means to be a person, and the experience will be slightly different for each one. It's the alien species that allows a further exploration, meaning the comparative between the two. When Data is asking questions about humanity, Data is giving you a window into humanity that you don't necessarily get under normal circumstances, because you as a human being, those things would be considered natural and unspoken. Data brings it up because he doesn't get it, doesn't make sense. Same thing with Spock. When Spock is making certain criticisms about humanity. Or Quark. When Quark is saying, human beings are just as bad as any Ferengi, especially when you take away the things that they need. If they don't have access to their needs, they are horrible human beings. Like, those things are explorations of what it means to be a person. It's amazing. I hated the episodes with Data Brother. I did too, Trudy. I did too. Hated those. Bob Ramirez said, Jamal would love the politics of The Expanse, but he'll be in a rest home before he gets around to watching it. We got to watch The Expanse. They're on 3 seasons. They're on season 3.
What is that on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. I've seen the first season, but I got to be honest, I was out of it when I was watching it. I think I binge watched it. I think I fell asleep on like half of it. Not because it was bad, but because I don't sleep over them, so I nod off sometimes. One question not even Star Trek answered: where have all the haberdashers gone? What aspect of humanity are the Andorians exploring? Oh, I see what you mean. Well, when I say exploration, I just mean in the comparison between the two. Andorians are similar to human beings. In fact, you could almost make a case that Andorians, for the most part, are almost identical to human beings. Like they have the emotion component and all this other stuff. When I say exploration, I just mean when you get into societies or countries or like societies on the show, and those societies are directly criticizing or directly dealing with humanity, and even in an indirect way, in the differences between the societies of one culture versus another culture. In those, you find what it means to be a person. At least that's the way I see it. Like even Q. When Q took Picard out, and in the first episode of Star Trek, and he said he held humanity responsible for all the crimes that humanity had committed. Q making this point of, you guys are apes. You guys are animals. You're hairless apes. And you don't deserve to be out in the galaxy, considering for all the things that you guys have done and all the crimes you've committed against yourselves. You don't deserve to be out here. You're incapable, or you're not ready. Now, Picard had to answer for this. And Q even got to the point, put a bullet in his head if he says anything other than guilty. Like, he essentially says, you have to answer for all of the crimes, the Holocaust, the wars, the killings, the poverty, the leaving people without their needs. You need to answer for all of that. And Picard, in this kind of embarrassed, pained way, makes the speech of saying, all right, fine, but we've grown up as a species. We've put that stuff behind us. We've gotten rid of war. We've gotten rid of poverty. We've grown up as a species. I'm not going to take the blame for it. We've all said, and Picard made this point of saying, we've all, as politically, have gotten together and has put all of it behind us. And it's essentially a collective forgiveness. And we've moved forward. Fucking love that show, man. Fucking love that show. The best of all series, in my opinion, is Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine from season 5 on, yes. From 5 on, because of the war. They started getting into this kind of conflict with the Dominion, and it percolates for like 5 seasons, where the war doesn't start like in Discovery, like overnight. The war takes place like season 5, 6, 7, where it slowly builds and builds and builds, where you realize, okay, there are border issues here with the Dominion. Oh God, this is going to be a problem. Oh my God, the Cardassians is joined with them. Oh my God, they're in open war. Do you have anything to add?
I'm just here because it's too awkward for me to get up and leave. I'm not into Star Trek. I don't have anything to add to this segment.
Fair enough.
That's all I got.
Holy shit, we've been doing this for 3 hours. All right.
It's hot in here.
I'm going to...
It's getting hot.
All right, I'm going to end this. This was the last one, the Star Trek talk. I like this format. Maybe we need to go through the items faster, because 3 hours seems excessive.
Well, we've been trekking for 30 minutes.
It hasn't been that long. We've been talking like 5 minutes.
I don't know. And then people say they like the chat. I mean, there are a lot of people. We had more people when we were on topic, but there still are 140 people kind of hanging out for this chat session. Even people who are saying, yeah, people like the chit chat. Even people who are saying, I don't know what we're talking about. How do we get here? This is what happens when you come in the middle of a conversation. They're still here for the
Q never really existed. That was Picard's super ego manifesting itself. 3 hours is fine without the Star Trek stuff. Yeah, no. I mean, look, this channel is just me. Meaning, there are going to be things that we talk about on this channel that you're not going to particularly like.
Nobody's going to like everything.
Yeah, nobody's going to like everything. As aspects of self go, there are always going to be aspects of self that somebody's not going to particularly like. That's what it is. As such, this channel will discuss Star Trek. This channel will discuss aliens and UFOs. This channel will discuss out-of-body experiences. And this channel will discuss politics. It will discuss all those things because these things are aspects of me. Just saying. Also, Picard, Q did exist. Like, that wasn't something that Picard was making up. Picard wasn't hallucinating. Like Guinan clearly knew who Q was. Riker knew who Q was. The rest of the ship was being was exposed to him. It was real. It was real.
Somebody said they listen to the Star Trek stuff even though they have no idea what you're talking about. That's love, man. That's like a love for the cause.
How can you not know what I know? I just don't understand how people can't.
Like, I love you, but like if this was just me watching it, because I watch the videos, but sometimes like when it got to this part, I'd be like, ooh, okay, all right, well, I'll check them on the next one. So if you're here hanging out, oh, somebody said more from Aisha. Not if we're on the Star Trek topic. More OBEs
and NDs. I've never had a near-death experience. I mean, I've been on the brink of death, but
excuse me.
Never to the point of
Not a Trekkie, but still here. That was a lot of fun, folks.
Aisha hates Star Trek. My ex-wife was the same way.
I don't
think she
hate it. I'll watch it. But am I gonna sit here and like passionately discuss like the different theories and intricacies of Star Trek with you guys? Probably not. I told him, or I suggested that he start a Star Trek channel. I suggested you start with season 1, episode 1 from the original Star Trek.
Watch every episode.
Go through every episode of Star Trek.
That would be brutal, man. That would be brutal. I would need help. I would need help. Like, because it would take time. So I would have to watch each episode and then do a review of the episode. And I can't show the episodes. So I would have to also
that kind of narrate or something.
I would have to somehow either go through the episode and take clips of the episode.
People like that. John Hill said you really should. Someone said I'm in. That's a great idea. Someone asked, are you Star Wars fans? Not really. No. He's a Trekkie.
So
I'm just not.
They build a Death Star. And then you think about the economics of what they did. Like, because you're talking about something, they still use money in Star Wars as far as I understand it. And they're building a ship that is probably pulling resources in from quadrants. Like, so not just one planet. You're talking about like scores of planets that are pulling in the economy in order to build this particular Death Star. And they leave one slot in the Death Star, there's a little hole that if you hit it can blow up the entirety of the thing. So you're talking about money, like quadrillions of dollars, like insane amounts of money, going to this device that has a flaw, a defect in it. When that thing blows up, they've destroyed something that the economy of all of these planets have been involved in building, and killed everybody that was on it, including janitors, data people who were just there doing IT.
Data was on there?
No, data stuff. Medical coding. All of the things that are just jobs. They've killed all of those people. Yeah, just saying.
Yeah, we're not Star Wars people.
And think about it from the standpoint of the rebels. Star Wars is fascinating in this perspective. Well, we enjoyed the last one that came out.
There's a couple that we watched, but are we
Rogue
fans?
One. Rogue One was awesome.
No.
Yeah, Rogue One was awesome. There's a heaviness to it as it's gotten on, and that I've liked in Rogue One. What does it mean to be a rebel? Right? That's Star Trek. That's Star Wars. What does it mean to be a rebel? Like, assume for the moment the political space that you're in now. What does it mean to be a rebel? And to be a rebel meaning you're shooting cops, you're shooting military personnel. You've essentially said that the sovereign who's in control of this doesn't necessarily
Anybody
matter.
who's working for them gotta go. They're going down.
They're going down. This is open rebellion with you killing people that may be working in the thing. Because whatever you want to think of the Empire has all sorts of planets with all people doing all of these various jobs. And those people don't consider that empire to be an empire in the same way. Like the United States is an empire. What does it mean to have these various places around the globe killing our service personnel, setting bombs, setting car bombs, setting suicide bombs? Those are rebel activities against this hegemonic order of the United States and the Western countries. I'm saying the rebel forces give you the perspective of what it means. If you were living inside that empire, if you were born inside that empire, you would think that was as natural can be. And not just as natural can be. When the empire comes out and says, Bob so-and-so died in a car bombing in this particular place, you'd be like, God damn it, those terrorists. You know, let's be very clear on what it means to be part of the empire versus part of the opposition. It's a ripoff of Dune. Star Wars is a ripoff of Dune. I'm always amazed that Gardner knows shit like this.
Gardner knows everything.
Gardner is a man of fucking action. Creative experiments. Watch YouTube saved in the editing room where George Lucas' wife actually created the Star Wars story after watching Dune. I'm just saying.
Two's time. Is Aisha super bored yet? Ooh, seriously, love to have some background instead.
No,
that's a tad intrusive, but
could you elucidate? I think that's supposed to be elucidate.
Some backgrounds.
On what? On which one?
Two's time. Backgrounds on what?
On Star Trek? I can give you all the background you need.
No. I know that's not what you're saying.
How much background do you want?
No, I know that's not what they're saying.
How much you want? How much you want? I give it all.
No, and if so,
take it all.
Get the screen up so I can go out of the room. Put an image up so I can get up from the.
Yeah, they explain. All right, so to be fair, they're right. In Rogue One, they did explain that the rebels put in the that vulnerability. That's fair. But beforehand, that's some shit they wrote in after the fact.
Two's time says you both. You asked what background. Two's time says you both and disguise personal. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. 2 times.
What you talking about? 2 times. I love Doctor Who. I don't know. I'm just not. I don't like TV. I don't like TV in general. I watch a lot of anime. That's my thing.
Yeah. She's an anime thing.
I watch a lot of anime. Like the grittier, violent. The more gritty, the more violent, the better. The
better the anime.
Like I'll be watching an anime and like the first scene, he pulls like a sword out and he's decapitated 3 people and like there's body parts all over and I'm like, this is gonna be awesome.
See, I can only do anime if the movie always leave out the details. Yeah, because they don't have time. I like anime if there is magic or fantastic science involved. Otherwise, I can't get into it. Like if it's an anime about a detective, it's like, so what?
I mean, there's an anime about everything. There's an anime about gambling in school. There's an anime about magic. Weird. There's an anime about somebody sleeping with their sister. There's an anime about
Attack on Titan, Bleach.
Attack on Titan was really
Full
really
Metal
good.
Alchemist.
I've watched pretty much every anime that Netflix and Hulu and Amazon.
Sword Art Online was amazing.
That was good.
Sword Art Online was amazing. God damn it, that was one of the best animes out there.
Someone said, "So your wife is Asian?"
What?
That's racist.
There's an Asian woman
because
in my wife.
I like
fighting
anime. It out. I've always liked cartoons as an adult in general. But I don't know. And anime is not like for kids. The anime that I watch is not for children. Like my kids will not be watching that kind of anime.
Yeah, she's pulled me into it. I wasn't an anime fan before, and now she pulled me in.
Attack on Titan. There's one the episode on Attack on Titan where he gets into the big whatever, and he has to carry that big piece of rock to recover the wall. And you were like geeking out about that episode, and he's like, "Carry the world."
I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
No, not anime porn on Adult Swim.
It's oh god, Attack on Titan. Yeah, where he turned into the Titan, and his squad was about to be killed. God, Attack on Titan was so good.
And he had to pick up that big boulder and cover the.
It's like he was carrying a boulder
in the wall, and Jamal's like, "Oh my god, carry the world." There's some anime that's like really, and the good thing about anime is usually it's like on Netflix or something like that, so you can just binge watch it. You can binge watch. So I'll pick a show and like in a weekend I'll be like, all right, I got to find another show because I've binge watched all of it.
I do that shit overnight.
I just like anime, but that's my thing. I'm not a Trekkie or a. So am I bored? I'm not gonna say yes because I think that would be rude.
Now she does like, or she indulges. So the shows I also like Vampire Diaries, the originals. Buffy, somebody said like this kind of Buffy universe. I love shows like that. Like that, I get a kick out of those shows. now they have Legacies, which is essentially kind of an extension of the Vampire Diaries Originals universe.
Wait. Someone are talking about
Supernatural, of course. Oh God, Supernatural.
Naruto's okay. I got into Naruto a little late, so I would have to go back and watch everything, and I'm not that motivated. Someone's asked if I've seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I have not. Death Note. Jamal likes Death Note.
I liked
It was a little slow for me. I like a little bit more action.
It was fascinating. I wish they would have revealed more. So the part of Death Note I thought was interesting was the behind the note itself, like because ultimately there are multiple dimensions, and in the dimension to which these things inhabit, what the Shigodoshi or some whatever those things are called. I'm being real racist and fucking up the name, but I went for it. The whatever those things are, they inhabit a different dimension, and they have nothing to do but fuck with humans. And so having the Death Note, having people die on the note and all this stuff, I thought that was fascinating.
Now the real life rendition of that was fucking awful.
Yeah.
So save yourself from that. Someone asked if I seen the Paprika film. I have.
That's it. Shinigami. Yeah, Shinigami. Thank you.
Yeah. Ghost in the Shell, that was good, but yeah, you do have to pay attention.
Ghost in the Shell was good. Complicated. My ex used to really like that show. I had a hard time getting into it.
John Hill said, y'all geeky. But I guess maybe watching like some of the stuff he watches, and will people say anime is not what black people watch? Like, should I not be watching anime because I'm black?
Many black people that don't watch anime, but I don't think
Junji Ito is amazing. It's not anime, but it's horror
manga. The
live
action remakes are always horrible. Wesley Walker, the live action remakes are always horrible. Attack on Titan wasn't bad. We went to the movies to see that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we had like a special screening when they showed like 3 of them for Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad. The first one wasn't bad. They had part 2, which wasn't...
I don't think we saw part 2.
We saw part 2. It just wasn't... It was a little weird towards the end.
I don't remember that one.
I could have sworn we saw part 2.
Must not
remember because she got stuck in stone at the very end?
Not ringing a bell.
Or she encased herself in some kind of thing.
Ooh, somebody said they haven't seen it yet. Ooh, don't tell.
Oh, sorry. But it wasn't bad.
Yeah, Dark Matter being canceled. That sucked. That was good. No, it sucked that it was canceled, but Dark Matter was good.
Dark Matter? Are you talking about Dark Mirror?
No, that other show. I think you remember that.
Question, is Jamal the three-eyed raven? That's how Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
Grave of the Fireflies. I can't believe... This is going to sound really messed up, but I can't believe there's 140 people in here. The visuals in Attack on Titan were good. Those dumb smiling giants were horrifying.
Those things were horrible.
They were creepy, and I was like, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, those were so creepy. They were so creepy. They were so extremely creepy. Clyde, I don't remember what the comment was, so I'm not mad at the comment.
Teresa, is this Mrs. Thomas? It is Mrs. Thomas. Garden Gnome, I'll check it out. Jamarl Thomas, this is a more equal chat now.
So much better.
Because we moved from Star Trek. I just don't have anything to add to Star Trek. Inuyasha, PJs. Ooh,
I never watched Inuyasha. I
think my favorite anime is probably Only Yesterday. I don't know if I've seen that. Jamarl is Asiatic. If he's
Dark
part
Matter.
Indigenous.
Read later.
The best sci-fi going now is The Expanse. Somebody keeps saying that.
Somebody keeps saying that, yeah.
FLCL. I don't know what that is. Will the Thomases set up a haberdashery? I saw a haberdashery in Portugal.
Really?
I think in Lisbon. That day when I got stuck in the city, I think I saw a haberdashery. I meant to take a picture of it, but I was a little stressed.
She got stuck in the city. We were... I needed to get treatment, so I was at a facility in Lisbon getting treatment. She went, I guess, careening around the city just to,
I went to go visit Lisbon, and that was the day when I had planned to ride on the cable car and
there was a military
do a
parade.
bunch of stuff, and the city was shut
down.
All
transportation in and out of the city was shut down.
We'd never ridden the tunnel. They have underground trains underneath the city. We'd never used that. We used a lot of Uber, and we did use the bus. system a couple times.
Yeah.
But when it got time for me to leave, there were no Ubers that would come anywhere near the square that I was familiar with. There were no taxis, and I had to walk like a mile outside, and like 3 Ubers canceled on me. It was terrible. Like, I was literally like trapped inside of Lisbon because they shut down like all transportation. But that was the day that I was walking around. I can't remember the name of the square, but I did see a haberdashery. I didn't take a picture. I was under a little bit of stress at that time. So.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I do remember that.
It is a panicky feeling when you're like, fuck, I can't get back to where I need to get back to. Or I don't even know how to get back to where I'm going to get back to.
Well, it wasn't so much that. It was starting to get cold.
Yeah.
Like the sun had gone down, and I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to go back. Plus, I think I had the key to the apartment.
So I'm sitting outside.
So he was sitting there waiting. I was supposed to be back before he was.
Smoking and drinking tea.
Somebody said I should have did the train. I tried. Like, I went inside and was like asking the guy for directions, and he was basically telling me, he told me an alternate route outside of using the train, saying that the train was going to be too much of a hassle. So I walked back the other way that I came from, because he was like, yeah, you could pick a taxi up this way. So I walked all the way back over to the coast. Like, I was inland. I walked back over to the coast of Lisbon and still could not find anything. But yeah. Yeah, the Giants were freaky. Old school haberdashery here in Brooklyn.
I have a picture when I was in, I think it was Poland. I was in an art studio. Berlin. No, Warsaw. It was in Warsaw, because you weren't with me in Warsaw. And it's an art studio that the other person's place I was saying was art studio. At the very back of the room was a thing, and it had haberdashery. It had like 10 different hats or 9 different hats. It was a row of 3 hats. I took a picture of that specifically for Fred Edward. I was like, all right, this is where the haberdasher was going. I thought it was funny.
Is Fred Edward a haberdasher? A haberdashery?
I played the Black Mirror Bend to Watch game off Netflix. I did 2 Guard.
That didn't do it for me.
I didn't, yeah. I thought it wasn't bad. I thought it was funnier that they were joking the guy, saying that the guy was funny looking.
Hi, Drew. Jamal says you're one of his you're one of his favorite political commentators.
Oh, thanks, man.
Keep up the good work. Also, hello. Hi.
All right. This video has gone for like 3 hours.
There's still 145 people here.
It's not bad, right?
Anybody think we should keep going? It's really warm in here with the light on, though, so.
I'm comfortable.
I'm hot.
But
I don't know. I guess it's comfortable enough. You can just kind of like sit here and chit chat all day, and it's
yeah, I've gone through my list.
Darren says stay. John Hill says keep going. Someone said do what the wife said. Mocha says loving this banner. Someone says still 5 o'clock somewhere.
Still 4:20 somewhere.
It's 4:23 now. You should have done the 4:20.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go.
Where are you going?
Because it's hot in here. And I'm glowing on camera.
You say you're glowing on camera?
I think so. I can't really see. I feel like we're just kind of like killing time. Feminist News Network said, tell the story of how you met. We did. We met online.
Feminist News Network? That's the name of the thing?
We talked about that earlier. You'll have to watch... Oh, you have to watch it later if you're a patron. But yeah. We did. We talked about meeting online in our 14-hour date.
Pushing her against the wall. Under the moonlight. In a picture window apartment. It's like...
You're like, what?
That's what happened.
Is it okay to do online dating? Sure.
Yeah.
Someone said hit like. If everybody hits the like button, then we'll keep going. How many likes do we have? Wait, that can't be right. It says 0. No, that's not right. It says 7 people are watching.
Which work, Kate? Did you just hear Mrs. JT? She is saying she is hot and mentioned something about the lights being on. Take a cue from Mrs. Thomas. What, cut the lights off?
I think she's talking about some intimate...
something dirty.
Something dirty.
Something dirty.
Can you see how many likes we have?
Yes, we have...
How many likes do we have?
I don't know.
I don't know how that works here. Like, some of the channels that I watch, like, they play big on, like, Subscribe, like, donate, donut. Someone says 186 likes here. Thank you.
That's not bad.
Miss Thomas wants baby making time. Y'all are inappropriate.
Miss Thomas can get baby
Someone
making
says
time anytime
208 likes now. If we get to 200,
so talking about baby making time.
Let's not.
We have
if the more likes we get, the more we keep going. But I don't know if it's going into baby making time.
So,
Let's see where this is going.
Time. So we have we're over at my mom's house. We've taken the upstairs because we don't necessarily know how long we're going to be here. We may go traveling again or whatever else, so we don't necessarily have an appointment. This is where we're staying for the time being. And we have 2 dogs, Pitsu and Bo. I think I have a picture of them too.
I was like, are you trying to remember my child's name?
No. I think I have a picture of them too. In fact, it was one of my favorite pictures.
Really enjoy how you both work together. More collabs, please. John Hill says, do we want children? I want children. Jamal wants to stay married. So I think we'll probably have a kid. You could introduce your dogs to us. No, we couldn't.
I have a picture of them somewhere. I just need to find the picture.
We're terrible parents. Well, not terrible parents. Our dogs are not very well behaved.
Speak for yourself.
What's the real number? I was about to say the same thing. Nothing dirty about something so great. No, sex isn't dirty. More collabs. We were talking about a YouTube blog channel. Oh wait, he's gonna show our. There's my babies. So the big one.
This is 2 years ago.
Is Bo. He was a rescue. We were originally looking for a dog for my mom, and we were at the shelter and Jamal started talking about how he wanted a big dog, and I don't know, not exact numbers, but out of 80 dogs, 70 of them are pit bulls. And we
he's ready to eat.
Somehow ended up with Bo. The little one is a pit bull Shih Tzu. That's why his name is Pitsu. And
So the little one is Pitsu, the big one is Bo. What over
there?
Because that was a better picture.
I named them both. But Pitsu came from, so when Jamal and I met, I had 2 dogs. A 100-pound chocolate lab mixed with a Rottweiler. His name was Debo. And I had Queen. Debo was rehomed, and Queen was my baby. I had her since she was teeny tiny. A couple months after her 10th birthday, she got really, really sick, and she passed away. And when I say I was devastated, I was devastated. I don't remember ever being able to, I don't remember ever crying uncontrollably other than that. And it was like the day after, and Jamal was like, let's get another dog. And I was like, too soon. And he was like, it's not to replace Queen. But at that point, because we had lived together and he was even used to her then, the house just kind of felt empty. And so we started looking at another dog, and I was trying to do a rescue, and I had done a couple applications, but then I started to like kind of get obsessed about it. And this guy posted on Craigslist how he had this dog that he couldn't take care of anymore, and he was going to take him to the shelter. And so we went to look at Pitsu, and he was a tiny little puppy. He was like 3 months old, but he had been in three houses, and we took him home. And then a couple years later, with all the other drama, we ended up getting Bo. So
Pitsu, we've had Pitsu, like she said, since he was like a baby. Like we're within the first memories that he has. Now Pitsu, I can't find the picture.
I'm just gonna say, who's the better dog parent?
So when
he's been searching for a picture of Bo and Pit for all this time, I have an album in my phone called "The Adventures of Bo and Pitsu." They have an Instagram, by the way. They have an Instagram, "The Adventures of Bo and Pitsu." They're a little out of control, not necessarily out of control,
protective. Now Pitsu likes me more, I think. But when there's naughty time. And it's time to time to get down. When it's time to get down, when men are men and women are women and adults are adults, and there are things that are taking place that get not completely mentioned the very next day. Pitsu doesn't like it, and Pitsu will get out there and start howling and starts barking like arr, 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 like he's like flipping the fuck out. Now because he's flipping the fuck out, my mom, who's downstairs, is like She's like, "What y'all were messing around?" The dog was flipping out. I was like, "What's wrong with the dog?"
Pitsu's the spoiled one. He's been spoiled since we got him. Bo was, we're pretty sure, abused before we got him. When we first got him, like you would reach to touch him and he would like flinch. But he is a 75-pound pit bull and he is a huge baby. They're both spoiled rotten. They're really, really sweet. So
they know how to go to the back. Like, they know how to let you know when they need to go to the bathroom. They know how to sit.
They're like potty trained. Yeah. I mean, they're well behaved for us, but they don't have a lot of interaction outside of us. So that's what I mean when I say that they're not well behaved. Like the little one likes to jump up and someone kind of encourages it. Like when he comes home, he's like, "Hey, little man." And so the big one is like, "Oh, we get to jump up on people now," and so all hell breaks loose because it's a 75-pound pit bull jumping up in your face.
To be fair, like I said, I think Bo was abused, and because I think he was abused, he appropriates certain behaviors that Pitsu has, and maybe not because he was abused, just being introduced into the home. One dog is already there; that's someone dominant, and so Pitsu, whatever Pitsu does, Bo starts to appropriate those behaviors. So Pitsu jumping up is not that huge of a deal, but a 70-pound, pit bull jumping up, even if he's just being joked. So that's not allowed. He also has this thing with food. We don't know if he was food starved. But all things being equal, leave Bo, as long as he's eating, as long as he has somewhere or somebody that cares for him.
He's lazy.
He's good.
He's lazy. Like he just likes to lay on the sofa. Like I joked one time that I don't have a favorite. It's not good to have a favorite, but Bo will get up in the middle of the night while everybody else is downstairs and go upstairs and put himself to bed. Like you'll wake up and be like, "Where is Bo?" And he'll be like upstairs in the bed and he won't move all night long. Someone said, are we into cats? Nah, not really.
I don't like cats. No, but that's it. My mom was terrified of cats. She was definitely terrified of cats. And so, well, she still is. Like, so me growing up, I wasn't necessarily scared of anything, but wasn't around them, so it wasn't something that I like.
Xeon. Sir Bikes a Lot said, "Here's a date night for you both. Look up Fathom's events. He'll leave a link to the next anime in a theater. Let us know. We've seen a couple of anime in theater.
Seig. What's that, babe?
I don't know.
You're supposed to be the anime person.
I hate pit bulls. Watch 2 of them kill a chihuahua for no reason. Trudy, I'm not going to really go into that. I think dogs are
Dogs are blank slates.
Kind of learned behavior.
They're like people.
I don't really know what to say on that.
I mean, look, if you have...
I hate pit bulls. That's a little harsh. That's like saying I hate all black people because I saw these black people beat up a kid one day.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess you could say pit bulls...
Extreme.
I mean, the argument would have to be that pit bulls are inherently violent. And because they're inherently violent, you dislike them. But they're not inherently violent. I mean, they can be trained to be anything. You can have any dog that's trained to be anything. You can have a Chihuahua that's trained to be an attack dog.
Miss Tree says, I've had many, and that's never happened in the past.
Yeah.
Other people are saying, I've raised pit bulls. They're saying it depends on how pit bulls are raised. It depends
on how they're raised. But that's anything.
Yeah.
That's anything. I mean, the only difference is something that's big and strong and that's raised a particular way. If a Chihuahua is raised in a way that is brutally and violent, well, you can kick the shit out of a Chihuahua.
Listen, I don't trust those little ones.
Yeah, I don't trust them. Those are yappers.
And honestly, between our 35-pound dog and our 75-pound dog, that little motherfucker is the one you gotta watch out for.
She was a sweet little dog, though, and there was no reason for it. I know, Treaty, but I'm saying...
No one said that the Chihuahua should have been killed. We're saying that's not every pit bull.
That's not
pit bullness. And you can't condone entire breed of dog based on that.
That's not pit bullness.
She said they were raised by loving people, neighbors. I don't know. Every time that I've heard a story, and like I said, this is why I didn't kind of want to speak on it, but every time I've heard a story, and I hear a lot because people always send them to us now that we have a pit bull. Well, people are saying, oh my God, this pit bull killed someone. Oh my God, this little do so-and-so. Every story that I have read, there has been a backstory to account for why that dog went crazy. Because I know, like, when we first got Bo, I think I did some really stupid stuff because I remember the day that we brought him home, I put him in a sweater. Like, I didn't think anything about it, but I kind of, like, read off of his energy. He's been a big baby ever since. But at the same time, we knew that from the first day, he didn't like to be pulled in a certain direction. He didn't like to be picked up. There were certain things that when you did that to him, you could tell that he was uncomfortable. And it's like, are you reading the dog? I mean, I don't know the circumstance about what happened to that.
There's always context to it. Yeah,
but yeah, I'm not really getting into that.
Didn't Jamarl just say he hated cats? I don't hate cats. I don't think I said I hate cats.
No, we just don't want a cat.
I was terrified of cats. And not only do I not hate cats, I was taking care of the cat when I was in Czech Republic. It was a random cat that we were taking care of at the house. So I don't hate cats. And Trudy, nobody is saying...
And that's not a breed of cat.
Yeah, I know, that's just cat.
Different. I just don't like cats.
Trudy, nobody is saying that you can't hate pit bulls. You can do whatever you want. You're an adult. I guess the pushback is that that's not an issue of the essence of them being a pit bull. That's an essence of, being animals and dogs and having the ability to act a particular way and probably how they were trained.
Yeah, Brian Cosby, it's the little dogs that freak me out. The little ones.
That argument can be used for anything. I saw this black person do this. I saw this Asian person do this. I saw that guy
Right, so now I hate all black people.
Yeah.
That's like Liam Neeson saying he was looking for a big black guy to kill because he... No, I'm just joking.
Well, he did say that.
Well, he didn't say kill, but...
He did.
I don't know.
Liam Neeson was saying that he was looking for somebody that he wanted to essentially snuff out because of the rape that took place.
That wasn't the verbiage that he used. That's why I said I'm joking.
That wasn't specific verbiage, but he did say... Know. Oh, okay. Well, you were given misinformation.
Well, that's why I said, no, that's not what I'm just joking.
But I'm saying that happened for real.
I know, but what I said... Oh, my goodness. Can we rewind and play the tape?
We can rewind and play the tape. I'm just saying, it happened for real. Liam Neeson did say that. Well, not in those specific terms, but
right,
Liam Neeson
which
was
is why I said
out.
I'm just joking. I know that he said something to that effect, but what I said was not what he said, which is why I said I'm just joking.
But to say you're just joking gives the impression that what you said was wrong. And I'm saying what you said wasn't wrong. That's all. Gives a mistaken impression. Just saying. Just saying. Did Kamala Harris really pull out the hot sauce? Yes. Kamala Harris.
There's a picture of her with the hot sauce. She didn't whip it out of her pocketbook, but they had a picture of her putting hot sauce on greens, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Brian, cancer killed my last pit bull. Dogs are, listen, they're like your little babies. Once you get attached to them, it's rough. Darren said I'm a hot sauce voter. I don't know. What's with the Billary?
I'm a hot sauce voter. That's hilarious. I love that.
I'll vote for whoever eats wasabi. I'm down for that.
That's hilarious. Exactly, they're bred to kill. Well, as long as we acknowledge that they are bred to do that, and that's not inherent to the
Gardner, not all pit bulls are dangerous, but it is easier to train them to be dangerous. And if you don't train them properly, there's more of a chance they will become dangerous. I think that might be fair.
But let's be very clear. I mean, they're massive
point
dogs
to take away
with
from
very
that.
powerful
Not all
jaws.
pit bulls are dangerous.
Yeah, that's the key point.
I would not vote for anyone that doesn't like spicy food. Tulsi has to eat wasabi.
They keep saying that she's gay, or anti-gay, and that stuff was in her past. My thing was, Tulsi Gabbard needs to have sex with a woman on camera in order to prove that she's not homophobic.
Yeah, I'm not getting into that shit. That just sounds really... I'm not even getting into that. That just sounds like such a fucked up path to go down.
It is a fucked up path to go down, but they've been brutally going after her on this front, as if her backing one bill after another for the LGBTQ community, her repudiating the stuff that she said in the past, I'm completely sorry, I'm deeply apologetic, etc., etc. None of that stuff matters to them. All of them still use this thing that she harbors resentment against gays. It doesn't matter what she does. It doesn't matter that none of it applies. So my thing is, in order for her to get rid of that, she needs to essentially mess around on camera.
Yeah, that's...
Jamal just wants to see a threesome. It's not a threesome. It's just her and another person. Toxic masculinity at play.
Yeah, that's a very crude... Yeah, that's...
Stop that, Jamal, behave. Well, I feel you.
Thanks, Brian.
It's not toxic masculinity. It's not masculinity.
How many times did Tulsi need to apologize for her past? It was her father that taught her to be anti-LGBT.
I agree.
But she changed in adulthood.
I agree. That's kind of my point. And I don't buy into this SJW nonsense. People can make jokes. It is what it is. Get over it. Just saying. Feel some kind of way about it. Get over it.
Wait, make jokes about what?
The Tulsi's, the anti-gay stuff, and her hooking up with a woman in order to prove definitively, once and for all, that she's not gay.
That doesn't even make sense.
What do you mean? They're saying she's homophobic.
With a woman to prove I'm not homophobic?
Yes. If your name is Tulsi Gabbard. They're going to hit her with her being gay for for the entire.
Proportional representation matters.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
But we're not a parliamentary system. Don't get me wrong. It would be nice if we were, but we're not.
We're losing people. We're down to 124.
Well, it's gone almost like 3.5 hours. So.
Has anybody here been here since the start?
I don't know.
Who's been here?
Did you see Tulsi and Keene Town Hall? I did see Tulsi and Town Hall. So here's the thing. The Tulsi and the Town Hall thing, I like what Tulsi says, but gosh, she's so low energy when she says it. Have you seen any of her speeches?
Yeah, that's the most recent one. And not all of it, because like you said, she's got low energy.
She's low energy. Like, it's
like
hard
I watch it and I'm like,
It's like she sucks all of the air out of the room when she gives a speech. Now, don't get me wrong. What she's saying is like, yes, I agree with what she's saying. But it's how she says it is so, aloha, and I want to give you my aloha. And that is a greeting to come and to leave. And you're like, all right, I support you, Tulsi, but I can't stay here for this. That sounds brutal, but it's true.
Some people are saying they've been here since the beginning.
She seems kind of depressed. She does seem kind of depressed when she's doing it. Corbyn was low energy for years. He's not anymore.
She's too soft.
Yeah.
Someone who has great points. She delivers like an NPR.
Yeah, thank you. It's not just me. It's not just me. It's not just me.
Her aloha is monotone.
You can make jokes about race and gender as long as they aren't mean-spirited. Yeah, great. I tend to make jokes.
That doesn't mean. Why the fuck are you looking at me? That doesn't mean that I'm not going to take them as being crass.
You can take it as being crass. That's fine.
Okay, I know.
It's just not crass as an absolute.
I take it as being crass.
But just know it's not there as an absolute. Godless universe, the void doesn't care and looks on.
Oh.
Guard Gnome has been a worker bee this whole time. Good on you, Guard. Thoughts on the border and having a wall to defend our border. David Nix. We went over that one early on. A, it's bogus. B, shutting down the government over it is nonsense and shows how vindictive he is towards workers. There's no crisis at the border. There's no stats to give this idea that there's a crisis at the border. Donald Trump is doing this for political opportunism.
There's a video that Jamarl did yesterday that goes over that has Trump at the last
press
conference
saying
talking about
that he
the
didn't
wall.
need to do this.
So check that out because he goes into
Trump himself admits
how he feels
I
about
don't
the
need
wall.
to do this. It's like, yeah, it's an emergency that I don't need to do, meaning it's not necessarily an emergency. Tulsi pointed out that she was.
the dogs need to go.
Okay, yeah, I'll end it here. All right, I will end this here. If you guys enjoy the content,
can you hear the little
please
dog?
feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. And guys, I really do appreciate your support of the content. It does help. I mean, for the most part, you guys allow the show to do what the show does. So, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Anything to say?
Have a good night.
Thanks all.
Happy Sunday.
I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.